Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Stugotz is a little high energy today for a Wednesday because the NFL trade stuff has begun happening. Stugotz is very excited for DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh. I mean, how could you not be excited for DeAndre Hopkins? I got to be honest with you, Dan. I liked it better when the Chiefs were doing it without a wide receiver. Yeah.
Okay, but what were your DeAndre Hopkins thoughts? Because you're excited because all of a sudden Max Crosby is with the Raiders and he's saying I'm silver and black. I don't want to go anywhere, but everybody wants to trade for him because of course you want a pass rusher. There are rumors out there of Stafford to the Vikings.
Oh wow!
I don't know how real that is.
Huh?
But we are headed toward 3 straight weeks of election talk.
Yay.
On this show?
Yeah. Well, we control that. We could talk about the NFL trade
Really?
deadline.
Yeah, exactly. How about this? How about we already capitulate because it doesn't look like it's going to break our way, and we just try to endear ourselves to the right.
What is the PTO policy again?
Michael Schmidt joining us at
the World Series, October. Michael Jack Schmitz.
That's not
Love that.
Good old Mike.
that's not the Michael Schmidt that's joining us.
What?
It's the guy who
What?
Yeah, he's a 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner.
What's that?
I want to talk about Donald Trump being quoted in the Atlantic through anonymous sources of he wishes he had Hitler's generals.
Really?
Oh.
There was a couple things that I saw yesterday that weren't great, but, welcome our oblivion.
Like the Knicks?
So the only saving grace that we have in the next 3 weeks is that the NFL is going to be trading players.
It's literally all I have right now.
And the trade deadline is on Election Day itself.
Organically, I've become a big Baker stan. Therefore, I support the Tampa Bay Bucks. Monday night was really rough. If one thing can break my way on November 5th, it's Cooper Kupp to Tampa.
Is there a trade that could steal the headlines from the election on Election Day?
No.
Like a deadline deal?
Dude, that Stafford for
Stafford,
Darnold thing that I saw
mean,
is pretty crazy.
That would be bigger, Dan.
Yeah, I would exchange
would be
more texts
bigger.
about that.
Sam Darnold trade would be bigger.
But if you thought Stugotz was merely excited about that, he's also excited because there is some nostalgia in play today. He saw the Griffies on the court last night, and Stugotz just got excited about being able to talk about a time. Now, unfortunately, also Fernando Valenzuela died. And, hey, Mike, Fernando Valenzuela died, and Stugotz wants to talk about that as well because it conjures Dodgers-Yankees 1981 for him.
You never really see QB1 for QB1 trades, but in Matthew Stafford's case, you'd see it twice with him.
Wow. Is Darnold QB1? Because
He's
it should have been
QB1.
J.J. McCarthy, but he got hurt. But you're right. I guess
He's
you're
QB1.
right.
And he was gonna
he's
start the season QB1.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, you guys say that, but I was saying yesterday that Sam Darnold could go into the home playoff game after the bye 17-0, and I think he's losing at home to the 49ers. I'm just letting you know that that's something that I would bet right now is what would have happened if they hadn't lost last weekend and were still 6-0. I will not believe that Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl.
We were throwing dirt on the San Francisco 49er grave yesterday. All right. We'll see what happens when they're like a 6.5-point underdog with Christian McCaffrey coming back.
Well, from whatever he did in Germany. Like,
oh, yeah, I don't trust that.
Whatever the turbocharge is. But before we get to any of that stuff, Stugotz, the reason, and I'm sorry I didn't do this earlier because Billy Gill, you know he can be pretty private, right? Pretty secretive.
Yep.
Me?
Yeah, we don't know. You hide in the shadows some. We don't know a lot about.
I'm here. I'm an open book. Just
He's
ask.
a mystery.
I mean, feel free to ask.
Yeah,
It'll
well,
take
I'm
time
about
to invest.
I'm about to because I'm surprised that you didn't tell us about this, and it was revealed in a news story to me. I thought Meadowlark Media should have been informed at some point that I don't know if you saw this, Stugotz, but the Shohei Ohtani ball went for the 50-50 ball here at Marlin Stadium for $4.39 million, and the only controversy around it is that there's an alleged 18-year-old in a lawsuit trying to get the ball, saying the ball was stolen from him. And when I say alleged 18-year-old, is because Billy's been hiding that he was at the middle of that fight at that game to get that baseball, and it was taken from him, and now he's holding up. Look at all of this. Look at the video here of the ball being fought for, and you will see that Billy has video proof that we're just releasing exclusively now.
Look at him fighting for that ball.
He had the ball. Billy
had it.
Billy had the
He
ball.
had it.
He's got it right there, and the ball gets taken from him, and that's not a legal possession. That you're on your back there.
Well, there's a guy also upside down, pinned down by a chair.
He let it go. Why did he let it go?
I
I
mean,
mean, why did I let it go?
It is
Poor
classic
Billy.
Billy, just to be like, okay, it's yours, and then just like kind of throw his hands up.
I mean, you got to bite the person or something, right?
You do.
What does a bite cost in a lawsuit?
Billy,
Not $5 million, I wouldn't think.
how many people were at that game? It's just a value bet, Stugotz. Going there in the event that you might get that home run ball, that a lotto ticket's going to fall out of the sky, and a baseball that's worth more than any baseball ever is going to be in your hands, and then you're going to let it go because someone wants it more than you do.
I think all the people you're seeing in that video, that was the attendance at the game. They were all sitting in that section rooting, for a chance to get the Ohtani ball. Look at that guy's stomach.
I cannot get enough of the guy who is not involved in this at all. He didn't end up with the ball. His feet are up in the air.
He really got taken
His right
out.
arm is pinned by a chair.
But he's got a smile. I mean,
He is.
Yeah.
You're probably wondering how I ended up in this mess.
It would only be funnier if there was like a discarded wheelchair somewhere nearby. Because he does seem happy and delighted to be at what was
He's in the mix.
a scrum.
It's a scrum.
It was a scrum, but it was a scrum for among people. Look, you've seen at minor league stadiums, like they'll put a helicopter over the field and then fart 500 singles on your single A team. These 9 people, including Billy, were fighting over $4.39 million. It's like the ultimate cash grab, and that guy at the end of it just got.
He jumps over a railing.
Look at him.
And
He's in the chair.
He somehow goes through the back of the chair and ends up underneath it with his right arm pinned under the chair and a grin on his face the entire time.
But look how close his hand is.
His hand is like reaching. It's pinned, but he's like, no.
So the 2 people who are fighting over the $4.39 million, and if it had been dual possession, they would have had to split it. That one hand in the corner was bronze medalist on getting to that. Greg Cody is right.
Yes.
To be the bronze medalist is always a failure because, look, that pathetic hand just reaching out, trying to get the 2 people, trying to grab the knee or the ankle of one of the 2 people who have the $4.39 million.
That guy should get $100K for effort.
He should.
He should. Yeah.
Honestly.
Yes. I mean,
If I got the full 4.3, I'm giving that guy $100K. That said it.
Trying to reach with the fingers. Look at that.
Yeah.
I think the story was the guy that ended up with the ball wasn't even really aware of the severity of the ball. Like, didn't know, like, this is so impactful. Didn't know he was at a game where baseball history was going to be set, but ended up with the ball, I believe was the story. The announced attendance here, I'm looking back at, like, the game notes, was 17,560. It was packed. The upper deck wasn't full. There were a lot of Dodgers fans. It was a weird start time. It was like a 5 o'clock start, 4 o'clock start in the afternoon, 4:40, something like that. So you think about it, 17,500, right, is the announced attendance.
And you're also going to a game where you need him to hit 2 home runs and steal a base.
Well, and he hit it to the opposite field, right? So, like, you remove what, like 60% at least. It wasn't 40% of the crowd. So you're thinking There's probably 10,000 people of that.
But
that
was
in
smart
play.
of you. That was smart of you to situate yourself there. Like you did all of that math in order to get that close to the baseball.
I was just trying to, have some fun, hang out with the boys as I do out at the hangout, whatever it's called under there, where formerly known as the Clevelander, where that's where the ball
What do they
ended up.
call it now? It used to be
I'll
the
get back to you on
Clevelander.
that.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's
we were just hanging out. We were just looking for a good time, a little
I
recess.
see a sign that says
yeah,
recess. I think it's called recess.
Something or other. Yeah, we were just there hanging with the boys, and things happen. I can't talk about this any further. I've been advised.
All right. I don't know how it is that this ended up happening.
It's an odd name for a bar, recess.
It is.
Why?
It's like recess implies kids.
Yeah.
School, yes.
Oh, it's like a break.
Mm-hmm.
Break would be better than recess.
The break.
Break for kids. I have no opinions on it.
I was thinking about this, and that's probably the closest I'll ever get to being a millionaire, right?
There's still a shot.
Like, actually, though. Because, you win a lottery, and your odds are not 1 in 17,500 at becoming a multimillionaire. Like, that was it. I missed it. I should have fought more.
Well, but you are right to do some of this math on there are only a few places the home runs can go. So it's not 1 of 17,000 aren't your odds. Really, the odds are, does he hit it to center, left, or right? And I would assume that left would be the least likely from the left-handed side, and that's why there are fewer people there. But really, this lottery ticket could have been split from, it's the odds could have been somewhere around 1 in 500, wouldn't you say, or 1 in 1,000?
Probably 1 in, I don't know. What are we factoring in?
Just
the amount of people
Billy,
who are sitting in that section.
Billy, where the home runs go and the odds that 17,000 people aren't going to be sitting just behind those fences.
Well, he sprays it pretty much all over the place.
Yes.
So, because he's batting left-handed, you assume let me go into, right field, upper deck right field around there. He hit 2 into right field. He happened to hit the one that was most valuable opposite field into the, left center, left field over there. It's probably 1 in 3,000. Realistically, that you would catch that ball.
And the going rate, Stugotz, how do you feel about a baseball going for $4.39 million, more than any baseball has ever gone for? You can't tell me the numbers don't matter in the sport when that happens.
Well, it depends what someone wants to pay for it. That's the value, right? If someone's willing to pay that much money, which I would not for a baseball, then that's the value of the ball. That's the most valuable baseball to be sold in baseball history, because I don't feel like that's the most valuable ball to be hit in baseball history. Do you?
What would be?
I mean, either Aaron's home run or Bonds' home run to break Aaron's record, or one of the McGuire Sosa home runs, something like that,
Called
I guess.
I heard on the Biiig Dog Show this morning that before this ball, the most expensive ball ever sold was McGuire's 70th for 3 point something.
That makes more sense to me. It does. Because at the time, that ball felt like the most important ball in the history of baseball. It did at the time.
It saved baseball.
It saved baseball, that ball. Yeah.
Steroids absolutely saved baseball, and then they changed the way everybody played, and now they all hit the ball as if they're on steroids, every one of them.
Maris family's still getting invited, though.
Yeah.
That's odd.
Speaking of the Yankees, I want to play for you some sound here because, Stugotz, I had not seen this from the angle that Brian Cashman sees it. Mad Dog asked Brian Cashman, the most appropriately named general manager in the history of general managers. The Yankees have spent so much money and not gotten to where they are right now, 4 victories from in a while. And Mad Dog asked Cashman a question, and he took it to a place I wasn't expecting, but it's how history gets rewritten in silly ways that get forgetful.
Give me your thoughts here of finally getting back and winning a pennant after a 15-year, I don't want to say drought, that's not fair, but you understand what I'm saying with the gap. How about winning the pennant? How does that mean to you? Let me hear.
It means a lot, and I hate the 15-year thing because it completely forgets and discounts that some other organization cheated us when we were all the way in the end. If you knew what was going on, I don't think they would be advancing during that time thing. I think we would have been advancing. So I hate that 15-year thing because I don't think it accurately reflects history.
He's right.
He has a personal record book. I like that.
It's totally fair.
Love
too.
that.
Which organization is he talking about?
It's such a fair thing to say, but the record books will only show Astros forever. Like, even if you put asterisks on it, you can't take away the fact that Cashman's going to go to the grave being bitter about that. Like that's not something that you get over when, hey, they got caught cheating. What? We lose anyway? What? They cheated. That's I liked the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix that Bill Simmons and his team did, at least in part because of how ever-present the thread was throughout the tapestry of, Vince McMahon as a human being is like, you absolutely cheat to win. All that matters is that you win. Like, absolutely cheat. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to win.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying, Dan.
And it's, a source of a great many immoralities throughout the fabric of America. Michael Schmidt will join us later in the show.
October.
To talk about, I don't want to normalize the stuff going on with Adolf Hitler. Like, I don't. I don't want to just make jokes around here about sports over the next 3 weeks because we're scared, right? Everybody, I don't even, like, whichever side you're on, you're scared, right? Everybody's just bouncing against each other, scared on what's going to happen in 3 weeks, either way, like, wherever it is you are.
Going back to resignation, which is where I occupied for most of the year, and then I kind of worked myself up after the candidates changed to think that it had a shot. So now I'm just going to go back to seeing if we can hang on for a
all right,
4
so
years.
you're going to just put your expectations at medium so that you're less disappointed. It's a good management technique.
The way to do it.
Those were the worst 4 years of my life in terms of like daily triggers. There would always be something on the internet that President Trump did that would kind of really affect my day. So I'm trying to manage my expectations and hope that the American foundations of democracy are strong enough to withhold another 4 years.
It's so much more overt and desperate than it was then because we are, and this part is hugely uncomfortable and also obvious, Trump, wherever he is on the stage of delirium that would infect anybody if for a long time now, no matter how nuts they are, they're being pounded with the idea that your choices are you could be king of America by knocking down democracy and changing all the rules on how all of this is done, or you can die in prison. Are you going to keep pressing the gas on all the stuff that used to make this a better hidden clown car, but now turns it into a monster truck and you don't know which direction it's going to go in? And very few people are willing to drive it. This guy just trampled Chris Christie and a whole bunch of people, a bunch of losers in the Republican Party with a monster truck, and the only other one willing to drive it because it'll either blow up in your face or you'll have all the power is Elon Musk. He's the other one who's willing to drive the monster truck, but it's more overt. Like wherever it is that Dennis Quaid is doing the Reagan movies that get 18% from the critics, but 98% from Rotten Tomatoes because there's a movement on the internet to change how you look at everything you're seeing, where you can't believe anything. You're going to get ball sacked every day. I'm going to get ball sacked.
So we're not saving this for Schmidt, huh? Michael Jack?
Did you know that Cooper Kupp once held Zach LaVine to 4 points in a high school basketball quarterfinal?
I don't believe it.
No. Yeah, that's what he told Matthew Stafford on a podcast.
Really?
Yeah. I was watching that while Dan was talking.
Stafford to the Vikings. Stafford to the Vikings.
What about
I
it?
can't entertain that. You can't do that to Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Why not?
He's played so well.
He's played very well.
Yeah, he really has.
Played very well.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Hey, Stafford won a Super Bowl, but we were talking in the bullpen. Goff is a nice little extra juice kind of play for NFL MVP. He's been really good this year. Is it possible that the team that didn't win the Super Bowl, Stafford won a Super Bowl, and usually that's the ultimate, okay, they won that trade.
The Lions won the war. Yeah.
The war's not over, and I'd be careful with that terminology in general.
Well,
Stafford.
I mean, yeah, we've done a great job staying away from rhetoric so far this segment.
Stafford to the Lions would be interesting. I'm sorry, Stafford to the Vikings would be interesting for a number of different reasons. But what you're saying about Jared Goff, over the last month, he's been the best quarterback statistically you will ever see in terms of completion percentage and passer rating. When they do the metrics on how he's played over the last 4 months, the list is 1 of 1 on who's played the way he has statistically for the last month.
Over the last 4 weeks.
But it's also his numbers against pressure are insane. Like, pressure's supposed to be the thing that changes everything, but they're doing the Tua model of get everything out fast. He's mastered it. The number of reps that they have with a lot of skill position talent from a lot of losing for many years, and a coach in Man Campbell that we mock down here. Jared Goff has reinvented himself for that guy's not quarterback whisperer. That guy's bite your kneecaps. Jared Goff has turned into a quarterback that is former first-round pick, and also the system around him is perfect, and he appears to have mastered it if the thing that would normally torpedo him, which is interceptions, what are those numbers against pressure? Like, those numbers against pressure are something you do not see ever statistically, Stugotz. Nobody's that good against pressure.
It was especially impressive this past week against the Vikings, who get pressure better than anybody.
Against Flores,
The first drive, you kind of saw them get to him, and then they made the adjustments, and then they were moving the ball on the Vikings the rest of the game.
Ben Johnson's a really good offensive coordinator. They have a ton of weapons. Jamison Williams is now going to serve a 2-game suspension for PEDs. That one tracked. Given what I've seen from him so far this season, rare the occasion where I see something like that. I'm like, yeah, even though this guy's rail thin, this one makes sense because he's just got an extra gear once he gets going in the open field.
What you guys just did on Not Fair to Sam Darnold, like in a cutthroat league where you get better if you can get better, the Vikings feel like they're pretty close to being Super Bowl ready.
But do they feel like they could do it with Sam Darnold?
Okay,
but at this stage in their careers, Dan, I would concede that Matthew Stafford's probably an upgrade right now, and if all things are even, gives you a better chance to win a Super Bowl, but all things aren't even. He would have to go into a new system. You disrupt an offense that's kind of humming right now, and I don't know the locker room dynamics. I think Matthew Stafford's pretty well liked, but I don't know Sam Darnold's leadership qualities. I don't know what that does to the locker room. I think it's way too risky, and Stafford isn't that much better than Darnold is.
Okay, and you say that, and I would say to you, and what is also risky is Tomlin taking a 4-2 team and changing quarterbacks because he's in charge and he knows what better looks like better than we know what better looks like. And when you say Stafford is an upgrade, what I say to you is, man, Stafford looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are healthy, but what would he look like with Justin Jefferson, you think? Because Sam Darnold hasn't looked good anywhere until he's had Justin Jefferson, who appears to be the kind of game changer that gets number 1 wide receivers to distort the entire pay scale because they're more valuable than everybody else.
If you're asking the question, would Stafford give the Vikings a better chance of winning the Super Bowl this year than Sam Darnold? It's pretty hard to say no, Mike. Like, I think Stafford would give them a better chance.
You want to go all in on this year. I don't think that's a roster construction.
But you have JJ next year.
You look at Jefferson, you look at some of their impact players, the Vikings can be in this conversation for years on end, and Sam Darnold is like younger than Joe Burrow. So why would I understand Stafford, if he acclimates, it's an upgrade over Sam Darnold this year. And if you want to just go all in on an NFC that with the injuries at San Francisco you feel is more wide open, fine. But I think Minnesota can hang around with Sam Darnold for quite some time.
If you have made the decision that Sam Darnold is going to be your quarterback long term, then you stick with Sam Darnold. But if you're saying to yourself, I'm going to go to J.J. McCarthy next year, then you go with Matthew Stafford this year.
Hang around with Sam Darnold, a slogan we can live by, as there are 5 good NFL teams, and they'll get hurt before the end.
But they signed Sam Darnold to 1 year. They know he's not the long-term solution.
Mike just made him one. Just made him one.
Yeah,
you don't trade for Matt Stafford because
but Stafford creates a new problem for you because he's signed to a longer-term deal. And if J.J. McCarthy's your guy, now what do you do with him?
Well, here's the funnier part about this. I have no idea if any of this is real because it comes from a rumor from an account that I'm pretty sure was bought by others, but they can't admit it's a football aggregation account that's been bought. So we just talked about this for 4 minutes, and I have no idea if it's real.
Yes!
Jeremy has written in, and it's not because he wants to talk baseball. He says, I'm truly looking forward to ruining all the real progress I've made with the audience over the last several months by being the one person who actually wants to discuss our Nazi wannabe presidential candidate. Down the middle, Chris is just nodding like Eli Manning listening to Ed Reed.
What goodwill has he built?
I don't know. I don't know what he's done over the last month. He thinks he's created goodwill. I don't see it either. I don't. So I think
it's his goodwill. I mean,
I'm just taking in all the information, still deciding.
Yes. Okay. So Michael Schmidt is with us.
Tober.
I am long on the record of like you got to kind of take sides right now. Okay. I mean, like you can't be on the fence.
Just taking it all in, Dan.
You can't be on the fence this late in the game. And Michael Schmidt is doing real journalism out there. He's he's won 2 Pulitzer Prizes, and he comes from sports. And he recently interviewed Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly. This is 3 times on the record, on tape. This is not AI. And let's play this sound here for the people. That is the Cashman sound. That is not what I need right there. That is clearly.
Give me your thoughts here. Funny.
Yeah, that is
Brian
Michael
Jack.
I would like Michael Jack Schmidt's opinions on that Cashman sound.
So video. When I tell you video before the segment, I'm going to the fascism clip. It's not Brian Cashman, and it's not Mad Dog.
I can understand the confusion, though.
Yeah. So this man is a very big professional here. Michael Schmidt, he does good journalism. We do not. Let's play the correct sound, please.
What do you think? Do you think he's a fascist?
Well, I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks would work better in terms of running America.
You know what, Lewis? I failed you here, and I failed Michael Schmidt as well. You had it right the first time.
Yep.
Let me ask Michael Schmidt, who used to cover the Mets and the Yankees, for his opinion on this sound, please.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your thoughts here. Fun of getting back and winning a pennant after a 15-year. I don't want to say drought. That's not fair. But you understand what I'm saying with the gap. How about winning the pennant? How does that mean to you? Let me hear.
It means a lot, and I hate the 15-year thing because it completely forgets and discounts that some other organization cheated us when we were all the way in the end. If you knew what was going on, I don't think they would be advancing at that during that time thing. I think we would have been advancing. So. I hate that 15-year thing because I don't think it accurately reflects history.
Michael Jack Schmidt, you are October, sir. Go ahead and tackle whichever one of those you want.
All I ever wanted as a kid was to be Mad Dog. I grew up on Mad Dog, and it was a really important part of my childhood. Like if I could have taken callers for a living as a sports talk radio host, like I would have done that. I went to the Mad Dog reunion with my friends at Radio City Music Hall. I got to go on Mad Dog's show when I had this mini biography of John Kelly that came out. I love the guy. I love him to death, and he said some really nice things about me that I always send to my friends, even my friends who never pay attention to anything that I do.
Yep.
And Mike and the Mad Dog were just so important.
Is that what you meant to hit there, Chris? That's
Michael Jack. That wasn't the question. I mean,
yes, it was the question.
Well, it was his thoughts on what Cashman said.
What he's saying is basically he's a super fan. Like he is somebody.
Right. Yeah.
You're talking about. Look, Mad Dog's following is immense, and what you're alleging right now is you're among people qualified to identify as his number one fan. Correct?
Correct. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And I'm sorry I answered the question the wrong way. I could see all your faces being so disappointed.
No, I love that, Michael. That answer was so much better than what I wanted, and anything you would have said about fascism.
But the Astros.
But the Astros also cheated.
Yeah, it's all right. So John Kelly, or what do you want to do?
No. What did you
choice
think?
is yours.
You covered the Mets and the Yankees, and you're somebody who writes a lot about cheating scandals.
I mean, the thing that I think that missed in terms of cheating scandals was the seriousness that MLB actually took the Mets disabled list cheating scandal. People didn't think it was a big deal because it was a disabled list, and they said everybody did it. But in reality, Manfred was much more fired up about it than people thought. And they were really digging around to figure out what Steve Cohen knew about it. And if Steve Cohen really knew, they were very skeptical of that. And I think that the sports media didn't take it as seriously, certainly as I was being told they were taking it.
Also, not an answer to the question that I asked you, which is Cashman bringing up cheating there when talking about a 15-year Yankee drought, and everyone just sort of forgetting that they were beaten by an Astros team that was cheating.
Look, he's got a point. He's got a point. It's you can't sort of look away from it. It's his best argument. The guy takes a ton of crap here in New York, a ton of crap. And if you look at the record of the best teams in baseball since 2000, the Yankees have the best record almost by far out of every team in baseball. But every Yankee fan just complains and complains and complains. Mm-hmm. And as a Mets fan, it's incredibly infuriating. We made the playoffs. That's a huge deal for us. And these Yankee fans who are in the playoffs every year, except for last year, just going on and on about this. My colleague Mark Mazzetti, one of the best reporters at the time, just constantly complaining about these things. And all the Yankees have done is had the best record in all of baseball since 2000. And that's you talk about sample size, whatever the nonsense is that these front office guys say. That's a pretty big sample size.
The Astros obviously get the reputation as the cheaters, but the Yankees also got caught cheating, and that whole investigation was just swept under the rug, and then they sealed the documents and never released them. So we never really got to the bottom of what actually was going on with the Yankees in that time as well.
Well, that's the whole Apple Watch story. I wrote the Apple Watch story about the Red Sox, but then the Yankees get caught with the same thing, and MLB kind of, was able to move past that pretty quickly. We never really got a full sense of what was going on with the Apple Watch and this, and that kind of stuff. But, I guess that's baseball. That's what makes it interesting. Cheating is part of the game.
You're right. Yep.
Fernando Valenzuela, timely passing.
Fernando Mania.
Yeah.
Rest in power.
Yeah. Headed into the World Series. Unfortunate. Is this what, the Dodgers are going to rally behind now, maybe? Win one for Fernando?
I don't know. I just watched every Mets Dodgers game, and it's amazing with Ohtani leading off. He's constantly up. It's as if he hits once every 5 batters. He's just every time you turn around, he is up. It's this very I don't know how it is, but every time you turn around, he's at the plate, and it just changes the dynamic of the game. It took baseball so long to figure out to put the best hitter first. But it completely upended the Mets because once they're getting to the bottom of the lineup, they're worried about Ohtani, and then next thing you know, he's already on base.
I guess it's a timely passing if you take into account the election is right around the corner.
He doesn't answer any of the questions we're asking.
That's why he's the best in the business.
Michael, you're
Fernando Mania.
Am I disappointing you here? I can't.
No, you're not.
No,
you're exceeding expectations somehow.
Michael, Jack, you knock it off.
Look, first, did you see how we interrupted you? We are not a professional operation around here. I've just been sort of amazed listening to you that you're great at the giving of sports radio because you learn from Mad Dog, but you're not answering any of our questions. You're just giving us your opinions on things.
This is my chance to play, sports talk radio host. I've been waiting my entire life for this.
Okay.
I used to wake up in the middle of the night when I was a kid and listen to WFAN at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I kept it on all night. So, this is more important to me than anything else that's going on.
Dan, we should let him live out his dream.
Yes, Michael, this is what we're going to do, okay? Right. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to let you. We're going to stop for a second, and then we're going to start a new segment, and you're going to start Michael Schmidt's radio show today. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Doggy!
I'm going to make you do it, and I'm going to make you do what would have been your opening monologue, first 30 seconds. What are you shaking your head at me for?
We'll just do John Kelly. We'll just do John Kelly.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, he ran scared. He ran scared from the spotlight.
It was an ambitious idea, Dan. Very ambitious.
It's his dream.
Yeah. It's not harder than it
you
looks.
Could do
Look
it.
at this clown car I'm operating here. What do you mean it's harder than it looks?
He spit out his coffee.
But look, what are you talking about? You would be very good at it. You've just proven, but what you're saying is I'm a better guest than a host. You're a better caller than a host.
Yeah, I'm just a caller. I'm Mike Schmidt in New York. That's it.
Mike on a mobile.
Okay.
I waited my whole life for this.
What about the joke that Mike Ryan is making there where he's saying the next 3 weeks are going to be a special kind of awful? Because let's play that sound again, people, because I don't want to just skip past it. This is Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, on the record.
What do you think? Do you think he's a fascist?
Well, I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultranationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks would work better in terms of running America.
Is that a valuable Mickey Mantle card behind you?
Is it?
I think it is.
Is that? Wait a minute. How much is that card worth?
What is that?
This is my stepson's Mike Piazza card.
And not the same.
These are baseballs that he hit.
Right.
And then actually, I'll show you one. I'll actually show you one thing. So my career started at the Times. My first job was doing what was called Steinbrenner duty. Ooh. And in Steinbrenner duty, I was sent to the Yankee game. I sat in the press box until the 8th inning, and then I was sent downstairs to stand with the tabloid reporters as Steinbrenner came out to get a quote from Steinbrenner because it was so important what he had to say. And I would stand there and I would get this quote and I would run it back upstairs to the beat writer. And that's how my career at the time started. That was the first assignment that I had, and I took it as seriously as I could, and I loved it, and I loved it to death. And the most favorite thing that
he's getting up now.
Out of all of this is when I was a kid, my father and his friend Michael Stern were at this fancy steakhouse in New York called Ben Benson's, and Steinbrenner was there, and they went up and he signed a bill to my sister and I, and he said, "To Molly and Michael, best wishes from their Yankee friend George Steinbrenner." And it's just a special thing to me because that's how my career started. My career started waiting outside Yankee Stadium with tabloid reporters getting quotes because we were so afraid at the Times about what Steinbrenner would say when he came out. And if that was going to be the back page of one of the tabloids, then we needed to have that quote in our story.
Is that Flonase over your other shoulder? Like a celebrity give you that, or you just under the weather that time of year?
I have allergies.
Way to go, Billy. Way to go, Billy. You shamed the man into admitting something. Look, you're laughing at me.
Well, of course he is.
It was comedically
that time
perfect.
of year,
that delivery was perfect. Michael, I want to actually talk to you about some of the serious stuff here because it's gotten really dumb, and I find it frustrating that it's just other side accusing other side of communism and fascism and socialism and Marxism and all isms except racism and like, what are we doing with how dumb this has gotten? But also, why is a former chief of staff telling you on the record 3 times 3 weeks before the election something this volatile?
So here's what you have to understand about this. So there is no person who probably spent more time with Donald Trump than John Kelly when Trump was president. Because Kelly was a 4-star Marine general and has had had a long, strong military career and reputation, people have long wanted to hear what he's had to say. Over the years, we have learned a lot of different things about what happened between Trump and Kelly. A lot of those things have been in print. But what I thought was important was for people to hear from Kelly himself, because Kelly, Trump has questioned the anecdotes about Kelly. And I think that there's been a big push. A lot of people want to hear from as many people as possible who were around Trump what they saw. So a lot of the things in our piece today are along the lines of some things that we knew, but you get to hear John Kelly in his own voice. It's many minutes of audio from the interview that we put out, and people can listen to it And, we're constantly looking for different ways to tell stories. And this was a different way to do it, was to use the audio to allow Kelly in his own words to answer these questions. I just will make the point. Kelly is clear as day that he's not endorsing a candidate. He didn't do this willingly. This is not a person who wants to be part of politics. This is not a person who goes on television. This is not a talking head. This is not someone who sold a book. But this is someone who saw Trump's comments in recent days about using the military domestically on American citizens and was so bothered by it that he thought that he had to speak out. And in the course of that, answered questions about Trump.
Okay, so there are some things here that are pretty easy to identify no matter what your politics, okay? Police force arguments right now can, if we're talking about fascism, become very quickly military police. Like, that's one of the things that's an undercurrent here on everything that's happening as democracy seems to be swaying in the balance over the next 3 weeks. Can you explain to me how it is, Michael, as someone who has a great deal of expertise all over this, that Donald Trump, what he is doing, has our country right now divided by polling in a way that feels 50-50, and the misinformation and propaganda has worked so well that when I read something in the Atlantic, that quotes people credibly to me, because there's a vetting process to get that done, but nobody is making distinctions now between what is credible journalism and what you see on Facebook. When the Atlantic reports, quoting Trump, that he wishes he had Hitler's generals in a story that also has, well-reported what seem like facts on him being racist. What is America to believe, and forgive the length of this question, what's real and what's not real when we're not making distinctions between what's on Fox and what the Atlantic is doing that is credible journalism that is hard to get published?
I mean, I guess I'm just saying it comes back to the audio. Like, if you have questions about this, just listen to the audio. This is John Kelly in his own words, speaking out about character and fitness and saying to the American public, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I believe that you should strongly consider an individual's character and fitness when deciding how to vote, and that is more important than policies, because character and fitness can really lead to an unsuccessful presidency. And what Kelly is basically saying is, I saw this person up close, and this is what I saw, and the American people can make their own decision. But I think it's worth highlighting to them that character and fitness are among the perhaps the most important things when you look at a candidate. And in terms of attacks on whether things are true or not true, look, you could listen to Kelly, and people can judge for themselves. That's a primary source material. It's audio directly from him, and you can hear that. It's only our job to find ways to tell the story and tell the story in different ways. And that's what we did.
His book is Donald Trump versus the United States: Inside the Struggle to Stop a President. What I'm asking you, because you're someone who cares about journalism, is how it is that I'm to believe what are facts and what aren't when things I know that are reported and vetted well are treated equally to things that are just simply falsehoods.
Look, Donald Trump has challenged us in the media in ways that I didn't think we ever would be challenged. And I think that, it's going to take many years to sort of understand that and how we dealt with that. On a day-to-day basis, we're simply out there just trying to find ways to tell the story and tell the story in different ways. That's our job. It's not our job to do anything more than that, but to bring forward facts about everything, about the entire world, and try and demystify it and explain it to people. And let the public make the decisions the public's going to make.
Show me the most meaningful of the Piazza balls.
Oh boy!
No, they're not the Piazza balls. These are balls that my stepson hit.
Oh, okay. So I misunderstood.
Even less interesting.
You know what? No, let's show me the best of your stepson's baseballs.
These are. This is just we do batting practice, and I throw to him, and and we tracked the amount of balls that he hit in BP, home runs that he hit, and we got to 200 for the summer. So this was the 200th ball that he hit in batting practice over the summer. So,
Chris, what are you judging his
batting
fatherhood?
practice balls?
Do it in a game.
What are you guys doing? Why can't he have this relationship with his son without you judging it?
He can.
You're just clarifying?
That was the point.
I'm sorry, Michael Schmidt.
Yeah, Michael
for all
Jack.
of this.
Yeah.
For your allergies.
Yes.
are we done?
Yes. Thank you.
We understand.
Thank you, Michael.
I was going to ask you Star for your life, but I want to.
No, I will tell the people just before he goes, and I enjoyed doing that with you, Michael, whether you enjoyed it or not. His book is Donald Trump versus the United States, Inside the Struggle to Stop a President, and I would tell you his reporting is kind of the reason that you should still be subscribing to newspapers. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a universal truth that someone didn't enjoy their time with you if by the end of the proceedings they ask, "Are we done?"
Yep.
I thought that was fun and enjoyable. I misread that.
I think I screwed it up at the end.
You did.
That was mad awkward.
You upset him.
Heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I thought we lost him at Billy with the allergies.
Yep, it is. Actually, no, I agree. It was Billy's fault.
No, guys, look in the mirror.
I mean,
Mirror, wow.
Billy, he deflated when you asked him that question.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely me, not anything anyone else said about his children at the end.
He said stepson like
It
6
wasn't,
times.
but it wasn't
Yeah,
an
but
important correction.
you
Once I
devalued-
made the mistake.
You devalued the balls that he had proudly on display.
I wasn't doing that.
No,
Well, I mean,
Chris
it
did.
just kept. It went from a Mike Piazza ball to a stepson to a BP.
Look,
Like, what are we doing?
We started at a Mickey Mantle card.
We ended up
and
at
we
a
ended up
BP.
with BP. So, yeah, I can understand, but we didn't need to call it out from him. We just got off to a really bad start. Really, I thought we pulled it out into a win because, okay, this was
this
is
fine.
odd, but
I
it's
told
fine.
his son to do it in a game. I mean,
Yeah,
You just had my back there for some
Look,
reason.
this
line.
okay. And I would normally be right with you there on the remorse because of what he said at the end, and his perception to me is the accurate perception. But what I'm telling you is that as content, I would like to listen to all of that for 20 minutes. It had some range, and he surprised me again and again with his answers. And I thought we'd connected over sports, and so I could fool around with him a little more than I should have. At one point in the middle of that, I thought it was going so well that I wanted him to do his own radio show for us.
That was a
not
heat
into
check. That was a heat check, no doubt. But I understand how you got there. You're a good producer in that way. Let's double down. Let's see what we got here. All in all, I think that those that hung around kind of thought, yeah, that's memorable. Given how we framed the guest, most of the people that had no interest in that probably already left the YouTube.
Okay, but I didn't mean, and I wish to repair. I respect and admire that person a great deal. His work,
all do.
His work is important. You're on the fence.
He
You're
will
right in
never
the
be
middle.
on this
just
show
down the
again.
middle.
He will never be
He
here
will never
again.
be on this show
taking
again.
it all in.
He had his arms crossed the entire
Yeah.
No,
time.
he would come back.
No,
No.
He would not
Sullivan,
come back.
book him next week.
He would not come back.
I'd like him tomorrow. I'd like
Sullivan tomorrow.
I would
Guys,
love to talk
read
to
the
him
room.
every day right up until the
We're
election.
just going to keep adding layers to this.
Samson, what are your thoughts
Multiple
here?
Schmidts.
Nothing Personal is the name of the podcast. He does it every morning on YouTube, 8 a.m. Eastern. And as a solo show, I'm telling you, no one in the solo business of doing this is covering as much terrain in 50 minutes anywhere in sports as he is. Let me ask you, I don't know how much of that you heard or didn't hear. What is your appraisal? I thought it was 20 excellent minutes, soiled only by the fact that he didn't like it at the end.
I understand cubing a BP ball. I cannot understand how would it be that front and center of your collection given what he's been able to do, because that's just not cube worthy in the frame. I don't love being referred to as a stepson. That's always a tough one when you're the stepson. Do you want to be the son? Do you want to be the stepson? Does it mean you're not loved as much? Is it a Cinderella thing? So I think there were a lot of issues there, and we got completely derailed by what you were trying to accomplish, which was the wrong sound.
You got any stepson BP balls behind you there, David?
Yeah.
No.
Jeez Louise.
I do not.
Those are actually Mickey Mantle balls.
But show Mike Schmidt what a ball, like a ball worthy of being on your television screen
Samson,
right now.
I would not be surprised at all
example.
if he actually had a Mickey Mantle testicle back there, an
it'd be great.
actual ball.
The best one behind me is the Muhammad Ali that he signed opening night of Marlins Park.
Man.
And it's very shaky, the signature, but it is the signature nonetheless.
You can't say that, David.
Come on, dude. It's as descriptive as stepson. Okay.
That night was offensive. That whole night that you dragged Muhammad Ali out there to do that for your ballpark.
He was fine until like a half hour. We had to delay the festivities because he had an episode, and we figured that we couldn't delay it much longer because the game was on national television.
Right.
And so he agreed that we would have him out in the golf cart. It was not ideal. It was not what we planned.
Stugotz.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the untold stories that David Samson has in a book that if you want some great content, Mike Ryan talking to Samson about the logs that he kept on his Marlins records are amazing. But this story around Ali, and he can barely keep the smile off his face, even though this entire story is offensive. Like, what I am telling you is corporate greed at its very worst.
Yeah.
Ali had a tenuous connection to anything Miami baseball related at best. And they brought him out there as an act of commerce to open up their stadium. And again, he had an episode that I believe he's reporting for the first time. I haven't heard that before. That was like a half hour beforehand. That game was delayed. That game was delayed for a long time so that they can drag Muhammad Ali out there in a golf cart held by the elbow to just be a piece of legacy. What you guys did there was gross.
The game wasn't delayed, which is why he came out looking the way he came out. And his family does not regret that. That's the least offensive thing I've done to that family, given all the things that I've done.
David.
That
Weird
was
flex.
that was not the problem.
When did Ali sign the baseball? When?
Before he came out, he went into the clubhouse and took pictures with all the players who crowded around him and wanted to meet him. And he signed balls for players and for me.
What was the nature of the episode?
It's Parkinson's related. He just it's what happens when you're afflicted by the horrible disease that I've tried to find a cure for people, including 1, 2, 3 Brett. And as you get older, it gets bad, and you have moments where you just can't move. And that's what happened.
Billy, I know that you know some of Samson's history here, but do you know the actual story that makes David Samson say that's the least of my crimes against the Ali family? Because I believe it to be the best story ever told in the history of the show. Do you know the original Ali story that makes it more offensive than what I just said?
Announcing his death.
Well, it killed him.
Well, he did not kill him.
I did not kill him.
Right. He'd be in jail, Dan.
Killed him publicly before anyone else knew, and then hid in the bowels of the stadium waiting for the family to confirm it, because it's not David Samson's place to break the news that icon Muhammad Ali has died on the Jumbotron at Marlins Stadium.
And I believe my first call was to you, Dan.
Terrified and laughing.
I was both terrified and laughing because I knew he was dead, but no one else in the world knew he was dead. And it's always Miami. We were the first people to report that Muhammad Ali died. It's absurd to think about.
How long were you scared with that news by yourself before you got the all clear that the family was okay with you announcing it on the Jumbotron?
Well, first I needed the all clear he was dead because I knew he was dead. But to hear it from another source, the way Mike Schmidt would do it, like with a second source or a third source, it was a good 25 minutes. And it took about an hour after that for me to get in touch with the family and for them to say it's okay, which I don't think they meant because they've never spoken to me since.
I mean, it was a bad moment.
I have a sports business question.
Can we switch gears to something so the audience has one bit of facts that are right?
Sure.
The ball did not go to the owner of the ball for $4.3 million. You have the number wrong.
The Ohtani, the price was more than that? It wasn't $4.39 million?
No, that includes what's called the buyer's premium. So that includes about $700,000 or $800,000 that goes to Golden Auction House. The actual seller of the ball does not get $4.3 million. He'd get whatever was negotiated as a buyer's premium, but assume roughly 20% is generally a good number to use. So the ball is worth $3.6 million to the seller, but the buyer had to spend $4.39 to get it.
I've got a college football question, an NFL question, or a NASCAR question, David. You decide.
Let's go college football.
The way that the Texas fans disrupted that game and essentially bought time for an unprecedented ruling on a penalty, because you cannot challenge penalties, and instant replay isn't supposed to analyze that. From a stadium operations standpoint, I've seen that people that have been receiving text messages from the University of Texas saying they were spotted throwing stuff on the field well after the incident, saying that they will no longer have valid tickets for the remainder of the season. What was your take on how everything went down, and does this establish a dangerous precedent in terms of how games are decided?
I was actually watching this live from a studio, and while it was going on, and my first question was that I didn't realize that it was not reviewable, because that would have made things easier. And the minute things get thrown on the field, what we're told in our rules in baseball and what are the rules in any stadium is that A, it's an immediate ejection for the people who do the throwing, but B, you as the home team are possibly subject to a forfeit if there is danger for any player, either home or away. And so the first thing I was thinking is, what is being thrown? Because there's a difference between plastic bottles and batteries, or plastic bottles and glass bottles. When you're going through, will this rise to the level of a forfeit? Then I was wondering, are the referees using this time to actually make that change? And is there any causation that there was a purposeful delay because that's what they thought the outcome would be? And I was not willing to draw that bridge, Mike. I viewed it just as a bunch of drunken people who thought a call was going against them, who started throwing stuff on the field. And to me, Matthew McConaughey got it right in his letter to the fans, where he said, that's not what we do. I think he used the word bogey in his letter,
He did.
which I didn't really understand.
Well, and then Billy said, though, that he's not any good as an actor. That's something Billy said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Matthew McConaughey, he's won an
Sit
Oscar.
here and mind his own business.
I mean, a lot of people have won an Oscar. He's overrated.
You did that yesterday, though.
I said he's not a great actor. That's what I said.
Matthew McConaughey is not tier 1 of
Thank
actor, but he clearly is in the top 4 tiers.
How many
given
tiers
his
are there?
range?
Just
When you go from Dazed and Confused to Dallas Buyers Club, you deserve to be on a tier. But I just don't know. That letter you just showed, didn't it have the word bogey in it?
Why are you doing this again?
It's like in the third paragraph.
Why do you want to
Because
do that?
it made me feel ignorant.
It says bogey move.
Bogus?
Yeah, what's a bogey move?
Well, it's not par.
Based off the context, I'm saying it's less than par.
I
move.
thought it was bogus. No,
Below average. It wasn't a birdie. It was a bogey.
You want to analyze what the bogey means.
There are some good bogeys.
He capitalized it, so maybe we
Great
don't.
bogeys.
Some great bogeys.
Oh, God.
While bogey's bad in golf, if it's above par, would
Right.
that not be good behavior?
There's some good bogeys in
If you
golf.
apply context,
Yeah. Yes.
there are some good bogeys.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good bogey. They got the call changed.
Again, Billy said that he wasn't much of an actor.
I think that. How about the Wolf of Wall Street scene? Thumping his heart.
He was just being himself there, though. That wasn't really acting.
Yeah, ad-libbing. Yeah.
That's a great question. Can't it be considered acting? If you play yourself in a movie, is it by definition not acting? I think it's still acting.
I mean, Nicolas Cage acted the hell out of acting like Nicolas Cage.
It's a cameo.
He did. Nicolas Cage is a great example where he's always acting, but it's still acting.
John Malkovich.
Being John Malkovich, totally acting.
Yep. Who's your tier 1, just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
Tropic Thunder.
Dustin Hoffman
Right?
Wow,
is a tier 1. Jack Nicholson is a tier 1.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood is a tier 1. Robert Redford is a tier 1.
De Niro?
Daniel Day-Lewis is the top of tier 1.
Fair.
Robert De Niro is tier 2 or 3.
Daniel
say
Day-Lewis.
Denzel, man.
Daniel Day-Lewis coming out of retirement.
Yeah, we talked
Well, he's
about
doing that for his son, as he should.
Yeah.
Not his stepson, just his son.
The third little sub point in the 6th entry of bogey on Urban Dictionary is an enemy fighter plane. Is that helpful?
That's from Top Gun.
You got a bogey on your right.
There you go.
Exactly.
Sidney Poitier, man. What tier?
He's tier 2.
Tier 2.
He's tier 2?
Tier 2.
Tier 2.
What the hell are you talking about?
Tier 2 is fantastic.
How many
Roy.
tiers
Tier
are
2
there?
Tier
4.
2 is Hall of Fame.
He made it 4 tiers.
Did Big Cat do this?
Denzel, did you sneak him in there anywhere?
Denzel is tier 1.
Because if you were about to say, I thought you were really, I thought you were gonna go tier 2 there.
Just to piss me off.
Yes, just to be Samson, but he decided not to do that. I want to ask you why it is, David, that the cheapest reported ticket for the World Series is $1,705. I thought
That's not true.
It's not true? Okay.
No.
Do we have anything right? I mean,
You're getting that from a tweet saying that on Game Time and on various sites that the cheapest get-in price, that's the famous word get-in price, and that's not accurate. And we've tried to fight that as an industry for decades. Here's how you get in for cheaper is you're a season ticket holder where you have access and ability to buy postseason tickets at face value. When you talk about buying on the secondary market for a series like Dodgers-Yankees, of course, there's going to be a premium. But if you want access to tickets, then you have the ability to get access. Just you have to be earlier to the game and not wait for the matchup.
David, what's incorrect about me saying that if you're trying to get a ticket and aren't a season ticket holder, the reported cheapest price to get into the game is $1,700? You just said you can get it cheaper if you're a season ticket holder and you're more organized. But right now, if I want to get a ticket, the reported price is $1,700.
I just found
What a
one for
great
$1,065 on Game Time. Promo code Dan for new customers. So you could actually get that even more affordable. And look at this. All-in pricing, no surprises at closeout. I got a panoramic seat view. Oh, look at that. Right down the right field line. Well, thank you, Game Time. Promo code Dan. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game Time? What were you saying, David?
I was saying that I love Game Time and I use them, and you have to know when to go on for the event. The closer you get to the event, the better opportunity you have for prices to go down in the secondary market. So you're not wrong, maybe, that this second that is the get-in price for every game, though I would question that greatly.
Regardless, the size of this World Series, can you explain it to us?
This is epic. I mean, think about on your show, you let off with baseball talk. It is being talked about in non-traditional media circles. It's got the attention of the world as a true World Series because of Ohtani's presence and Yamamoto for the Dodgers. And, of course, the Yankees are the biggest brand in the world. And so when you combine that and you put the best players in the game on the stage during the World Series, the biggest question that we're all looking at, and I discussed this morning on Nothing Personal, is it possible that the ratings here will take over from the NBA and be greater than the NBA Finals, which MLB does from time to time, but not consistently? And is there a chance that Game 3 on Monday night could outrate Monday Night Football? Because the Monday Night Football game is a stinker between the Giants and the Steelers. The odds are it still will not.
No way.
But if it does, in a 1-1 situation, Game 1 at Yankee Stadium, baseball's looking to that as its next measuring stick. And that would be epic.
That's hilarious that the measuring stick is compete with a crappy Monday night game.
And they won't.
Please.
And they won't.
It's a big brand, so. All right.
It's self-awareness matters, and trying to be the NFL will get you crushed because you can't be the NFL, but trying to beat them on an occasional basis, that's a goal worth having.
David, I have 2 questions for you now. You can pick. It's either a NASCAR question or a NASCAR question.
I'm going to go with the NASCAR question for 1,000, Mike.
All right. So NASCAR actually coming down here locally for Homestead Motor Speedway. What does that sound? What's happening right now in my headphones? Either way, NASCAR coming to town, but they are actually dealing with a huge scandal behind the scenes. Michael Jordan, the most famous owner in NASCAR, is actually suing NASCAR. They have charter agreements. It's pretty confusing, but right now, essentially, if you don't own a motorsports team that has a tie to a raceway like Team Penske does, you lose money hand over fist. It is not a sport that you go into to win, to actually make money. So what is your opinion of this? Because NASCAR really pushed to get Michael Jordan involved with the sport. However, he is probably the only person in that sport that is popular and rich enough to fight this and bring about substantial change.
Well, this is an unbelievable lawsuit you're talking about. This is a lawsuit against a family. A family owns NASCAR, and they've got a monopoly because they own the tracks. And what they say to these racing teams is, hey, you can own your own racing team, Michael Jordan. That's great. Where are you going to race? In your backyard on 95? If you want to race inside our ovals, you've got to sign the following agreement, which will limit your ability to make money because we want to make more money. And Michael Jordan said, you know what? I think I'm going to get one other guy. And he did get, was it, Mike, did he get Penske?
No, he's definitely not going to get Penske. So
no,
like,
what's the other person suing with him? There,
I think there's like front row. I think there's 3 teams, and the most famous is by far 21XI, which is co-owned by Denny Hamlin, who actually He doesn't actually race for that team. He races for another team. I believe he races for Joe Gibbs, but he owns another team. Essentially, the France family, it is hard to actually get everybody in lockstep, which is what Michael Jordan is trying to do. Rally the troops, and let's have a proper lockout here as we challenge this in federal courts. However, some motorsports teams like Penske, who I think has a stake in, who owns the Brickyard in Indianapolis, one of the most famous motorsports tracks in the world, they actually get so much more money from having a stake in these tracks that they will never break this picket. They will never cross the line because they get so much more money than the other teams. The only way to win this is through an antitrust challenge in federal courts.
Yeah, they're not trying to actually prevail in an antitrust situation because it's very hard to do that. What they're trying to do is the basis of this is a charter agreement that everyone was forced to sign by the France family. And what Jordan's trying to say is we'd like to be able to negotiate that agreement because you just hand us something and say, sign this or you can't race in our tracks and be a part of NASCAR. And what Jordan's saying is without us, what do you have? And what France is saying is the family, well, we don't have you. That may be true, Michael, but we've got every other team who signed because every other team signed the agreement but 2. And so what Jordan's trying to do is get the other members, the other teams to say, why did you sign it? Because you were forced to by the France family? Because they pressured you? Because you felt that you would lose all of your money if you didn't sign it? That's enough to get the possibility of an antitrust case. It's not enough to prevail. So the hope is that they take the facts and the France family looks and says, all right, we will negotiate going forward. That would be Jordan's goal. Wait to see whether it'll work.
Yeah, do you think that the France family caves on guaranteeing these charter agreements?
Mike, put on the helmet. You're not allowed to talk NASCAR unless you're wearing the gear head.
I'm talking about Michael Jordan.
Put it on. Put it.
Totally different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put it on. Put it on.
MJ.
They're trying to get these charter agreements guaranteed. Essentially, you pay a franchise fee. That's what these charters are, and that's so much money out of pocket. And then on top of that, you have to cover your own expenses. And entry into these races aren't even guaranteed. It is a huge losing proposition. So what Jordan is ultimately trying to do is, at the very least, have one guaranteed cost that is covered by NASCAR, because he understands that this is not a winning investment. He just loves the sport, but it certainly needs improvement. And there are plenty of tracks in the nation. They don't have the reputation of some of these other ones, but if they wanted to attract, like, say, Saudi investors, there are places to make a true competitor.
But Jordan's also trying to get some of the revenue that NASCAR keeps for itself on the backs of the racing teams that come into these tracks. So when you're a sponsor, you can either sponsor one of the racing teams or you can be a sponsor of the track and get all the teams because you have visibility during the races. And query, when you're a sponsor, does it matter if Jordan's team is there or not? Is it just the fact that there is a race going on that you are sponsoring? And is that the worthy investment? That's the fight that Jordan's having, is he wants a piece of a pie that France will not share with him, and that France doesn't allow him to even get a fork and a knife to get a piece of because of these charter agreements.
I actually have another NASCAR question, and when I offered NASCAR, it's the fact that Joey Logano went from out of the playoffs to a day after the race. They kick out what? Hendrick Motorsports was not in line with weight, so Logano was actually eliminated. He goes on to win the next race. Your thoughts on this really compelling playoff chase?
This is the problem with what you're doing. David's review, we now no longer have time for his review.
He was eliminated from the playoffs.
And he's also got good Tua stuff that we don't have time for now because of how incessant and obsessive you were. And I'm not saying that
I
the
asked for 8
lawsuit
tickets. I hope they
isn't
give them
interesting. Your NASCAR obsession just sabotaged the end of the Samson segment. See you later, Samson.
What's that in your hand?
That was very natural, Mike, but I'm excited about this. It is a coloring book meant to celebrate our 20-year anniversary. We've always prided ourselves around here on having a different artistic look, and I like some of the pictures here. There is Roy and Mike as Riggs and Lethal. What is it? Thank you.
Actually, we can't use them to sell this book, so don't say their names.
Okay, I bleep that all out. I also have Amin here falling in American.
Can't say that either.
Greg Cody is wearing a...
that you can say.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
maybe.
Is that the
LSU
one or no? What is he wearing?
He's wearing that Zar...
Can't say that.
Can't
Strike
say
that
either.
from the record.
Okay. There is Stugotz, his guy...
You cannot say his name.
That mayor of Flavortown, Dan.
That book is so much thicker than Stugotz's book.
LeBatardAF.com. It's a lot of fun. I urge you to check it out. We have failed again as a show, and not just because we played a Mad Dog highlight when I was talking about fascism. We've also failed because we have not.
That happened.
That did happen, yes.
Did, yeah.
We have not talked about basketball yet today. Jason Tatum has a line no Celtic has ever had, okay, where he goes 37 points, 10 rebounds. He shoots 14 of 18, shoots 75% or better from the field.
They are the most disrespected NBA champion in NBA history. No one takes them seriously, and they're really, really good.
We'll get to that in a second. They were the best team by far, not even close, all of last year. And they don't get enough credit for that because they beat a 4 seed in the final, and everybody knows that it wasn't Jokic. They wanted it to be more satisfying. Regardless, beyond that, LeBron and Bronny had father-son moments that Billy has some objections to. One of them had a lot of cameras around it, the prank of Lucky Charms in the car. There were an awful lot of cameras there for whatever it is that was.
It was a Nike commercial.
Oh, Lord.
And beyond that, Stugotz, you've got the Celtics. Ray Allen showed up again last night out of nowhere. I thought those guys didn't get along. So Charlotte is in Boston. Amin is in Boston. They've got Oddball. It's returned. It's every weekday but Monday. I think TNT went away to commercial during the banners, I think, which they should have. I hope that's what happened. What were your thoughts last night? And thank you. It's been a long time, Charlotte, since we've seen you.
I know, Dan. I'm thrilled to be back on the court with all the on-court action. No, I mean, it was, good. It's a thumbs up. It was amazing to see the banner
Charlotte,
go up.
Charlotte, what kind of return was that to our airwaves?
Back
just
on the court.
Stumbling around, running
Dan,
in circles, inefficient with your commentary.
I just know you enjoy it so much that I wanted to give you what you've been missing during the offseason.
Thank you. We've missed you. Continue.
No, it was one of the, I've never seen a banner raising ceremony. Amin, had you seen it?
No, never in person, and still not in person because I watched it from the media room.
Yeah, Amin wasn't out there, but I was out there, and it was really cool. I mean, I think it helped that it was the team that I root for. Stugotz, I love hearing you say they're disrespected and they deserve more respect, but it was to see. I also got to hold the ring, which was pretty cool.
You got to hold the actual ring?
Yeah, I did.
When did this happen?
When I was just, palling around backstage, as I like to call the the bowels of the stadium.
Meanwhile, I was stuck in media dining. By the way, Dan, I got to correct you on one thing. It's every day but Friday now. That's right.
Wow.
The new season, new schedule. We work Mondays. We take Fridays off now.
Okay, I didn't know. I wish someone had told me. You're
That's a
part of the
fine.
Oddball as part of the network. I think I should get that right when I'm delivering the information on things we're promoting on our show as part of our network. The Celtics last night, Josh Hart says we should drug test them, and he's never seen anything like that in his life. They come out and just bomb everybody with threes, more threes than we've seen in a game. Please explain to me, Amin, why Josh Hart is saying that. Knicks fans were crushed last night. That lovable team that they love so much, underdog, Hartenstein, offensive rebounds. Now it's attack Karl Anthony Towns. He's not going to be able to defend without Gobert.
Yeah, well, Dan, when you talk about Josh Hart, he feels discouraged, hungry, and malnourished. And how could he not when the Celtics hit an NBA record three-pointers against them, tied an NBA record of three-pointers made, and that's having missed the last 13 straight three-point attempts. They tried to break the record, and some folks across the aisle said that ain't happening tonight. But if you're the New York Knicks, one of the big issues is chemistry, and especially on the defensive end, where many of those three-point makes were wide open variety.
I don't understand why you went Obama
weird.
there for all of the analysis. Why did you do that?
Because he's a big basketball fan, Dan. Haven't you heard?
Because he's on starting five? Because he's making documentaries with LeBron and Jimmy Butler?
I'm sorry, Dan. I never meant to hurt you. I'm just telling you what happened in the game last night between the Knicks and the Celtics.
Mike, how did you feel watching any of that as a Heat fan, as the Celtics ran roughshod over the entire league? And look at how radiant Charlotte is.
You have Mike watching that?
Have me watching that? No, thanks. I was locked into Sens Hockey Club.
That a boy?
You're watching the Panthers lose by 100 goals?
It's gone all right, man. The world champion Panthers, too. Give a reigning champion some respect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Losing it.
No, I would never watch the Boston Celtics.
Minnesota.
I don't care. Pay me to watch that.
I mean, were
garbage.
you surprised to see Ray Allen out there with Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett?
A little bit. I thought there was going to be a lot of venom in the building for him, but instead, I said to myself, hey, Walter Ray Allen, one of the greatest shooters of all time, and there was nothing but love in the building for him, Charlotte. We saw them in the tunnel right before they came out with Larry O'Brien.
Yeah, I tried really hard to get all of those guys to talk to me. And the best one, you'll like this, Dan. Ray Allen was walking, I think, with his two kids.
Yeah.
And he was walking by me. And I had a microphone in my hand, and our wonderful producer, Antonio, had a camera. So it was pretty clear what I was trying to do. And I sort of started approaching him, and I said, "Hi, Ray." And he goes, "Hey," and then just keeps on walking. And I was like, that is a real pro-veteran move, my friend. Touche.
He's got to pick a side already, right? Like this whole Heat-Celtics situation. Yeah, he just keeps going back and forth to whoever wins most recently. Like, pick a side. Where's your allegiance here? Am I wrong in saying that? I mean, don't the Celtics fans hate him for coming to the Heat?
I thought that
Paul Pierce hates him.
Paul Pierce was on our show saying that they still have issues and that Ray's not entirely welcome around them. I mean, have you not done any reporting around this soap opera stuff?
They sat next to each other all night long, Dan. They sat in the back in the green room together. They walked out together. They watched the whole game together. You know, you might say that Ray stood next to a burnt-down house with a can full of gas and a handful of matches, and he still wasn't found out. He's still out there. He's the culprit, but they love him. They couldn't figure it out.
Okay, I'm gonna step in here as the resident obnoxious Celtics fan. I forgot that Ray Allen had anything to do with the Heat because I'm just Celtics brainwashed, and I saw him and I was like, oh, I love that guy. So I don't think people in Boston really care. I'm gonna be honest, unless I'm about to get yelled at by everybody else in Boston.
They loved him.
He did as much winning in Miami as he did in Boston. I don't know how you'd forget that.
No, Billy, he did more. He did more winning.
I don't think about the Heat that much, you know.
What do you mean he did more winning? They each won one. He did more winning in Miami.
He won two here.
He won two here.
Yeah.
That's right.
One here.
Well, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles, Dan.
Okay, that's not good analysis.
It's great analysis.
Guys, let me
You know
remind
the best part? The best part of last night. The best part of last night was when the crowd realized that the Celtics, they had hit 29 threes. The crowd realized the Celtics were 1-3 away from breaking the record for threes made in a game. And the crowd, just every time, they had Sam Hauser in, they had Peyton Pritchard in, they had guys whose names I barely know. And they just kept chucking up threes. And the crowd was like, one more three. And the minute the crowd realized that they could break this record, the Celtics bricked like 13 in a row. And they just kept kicking it back out to Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. And then in the postgame presser, Jaylen Brown was like, I just want everyone to know, like, this is evidence we're not hunting threes because when we try, we can't hit them. It's like there was a lid on the basket.
Them chanting one more three reminds me of people chanting one more term. And then what happened?
Why are you Obama right now?
I'm just saying. Have you ever been hated or discriminated against? I have. I've been protested and demonstrated against. Back to you, Dan.
I don't want to do this. I don't know
It's oddball, Dan.
why you decided to do this every day but Friday this year. It's oddball. You get the occasional analysis from an incredibly crappy fake Obama. The idea that the Celtics... What what happened? What are you laughing at? You don't think it's a crappy Obama?
No, I think it's pretty good. Ask Sasha, Michelle, Malia. They all think it's terrible. I mean, terribly great. Freudian.
The ring that Charlotte held and wore, you're really just learning now that because you were in the media room not being a part of the pageantry of the banner raising, you didn't do any of the emotional stuff. You're just learning right now that Charlotte held the ring, which is beautiful, in her hands.
By the way, the ring is not beautiful. It's gaudy. I saw that they broke it all down for us. It's huge. I don't know what to say, Dan. I guess I could just say I just don't give a.
Was this the plan? Was it the plan to be Obama the whole time?
Mr. President.
Well, I'm sorry. Did I turn some people off? You know what you should be turned off by? I won't say it, but you know what it is. It's at McDonald's. Doing the fries. Turned off by that.
4 days a week, huh, Dan?
Yeah, 4 days a week, now on Fridays, no longer on Fridays, only on Mondays.
I kind of like it.
How many Eminem lyrics are that? Let me get, can I get, just so that people can understand what it is that Amin is trying to do, can I get that Obama video, please? And pair this with some Eminem. Get that for me at your leisure so I can explain to people what it is that Amin is doing. In the interim, Charlotte, do you have something to throw to here? I was told that you did some street reporting.
Yes, Dan. I sat outside of TD Garden with one of those foldable tables and a sign that said, "Hate the Knicks? Talk to me." And the sign looked because Knicks was in orange and the rest of it was in black. And the sign was in front of the table, but every time I thought about the sign, I started laughing. And we have a piece coming out, the broader documentary about this incredible reporting I did coming out on Oddball. But we do have a clip of one fan. And I just want to say, besides this fan, most people in Boston were like, because I was trying to stoke the flames of a rivalry between New York and Boston in basketball because it's so strong everywhere else. Most people in Boston were like, the Knicks haven't really done enough for me to worry about them. And I said to one guy, I was like, it's like the Don Draper quote where the guy says, "I feel sorry for you." And Don Draper in Mad Men says, "I don't think about you at all." And the guy just goes, "Yep, haven't seen Mad Men." So that's how it went. But check out this angry Boston guy.
Despise the Knicks. I hate them. I will eat their guts, stamp their throat, Spike Lee or Weasel. You know what New York fans are about? They can't afford Madison Square Garden, right? So now they come here in droves, right? Come at the Garden and always want to start a racket and always trying to out-cheer us, but not on my clock. Freaking, I eat your heart out. I stamp on your head and punch you in the face. That's how much I hate Knicks fans.
Wow, that is the passion I've been looking for all evening.
Whenever the Knicks come to fun, there's a fight, and there's going to be a fight tonight. I'm not fighting, but some idiot's going to fight, and I'm going to cheer on for the Celtics. Yeah, let's go, baby. Get him. Get him, get him.
Sorry, do you mean the fans are going to fight or like the game is going to be a fight or both?
The fans.
Yeah. Boss, yep.
Yeah, because you know why? Knicks fans are arrogant. Can't stand them.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, bye.
He ran out of material there at the end. He was
Yeah.
he was running on
Ran
fumes.
out of gas,
Running
yeah.
out of fumes.
You know what's interesting
Oh,
is
for the
that
love
guy
of
went on camera and talked like that on camera. I'm wondering, what's your job? What is your profession? Your day profession? Are you that rich? Can you afford to blow this?
All right, let's go ahead and just play the clip already.
I mean, I notice my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting. Dun, 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 dun. I thought Eminem was going to be performing. I was going to jump out. Love me some Eminem.
Charlotte is looking with open-mouthed awe. Amin is wildly unimpressed.
Wait, that's real. That's not a deep fake. I hadn't seen that.
I love mom's spaghetti.
I'm Barack Obama, the real Barack Obama. All the other Barack Obamas are just imitating. That's an imitation.
Is that what this has been the whole time? And I haven't known?
Yes, that's been
Charlotte, he didn't tell you what he was doing. He didn't tell anybody what he didn't tell anybody what he was doing. He just decided to do it.
Well, this is why you should watch Oddball, because you never know what you're gonna get.
You guys realize everything I said was an Eminem
No,
quote.
I didn't.
Everything
no
I
idea.
said had an Eminem
Not
quote
a
in it.
single clue.
Every day, that's the kind of chemistry you will get on Oddball.
He's walking off the set.
Oddball that is now, they used to take one day off a week. Now it's a different day. I don't remember which day is which. Oddball, almost every day.
And let me remind the people, Dan, that this segment is presented by LinkedIn Jobs. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. Terms and conditions apply.
Thank you to Amin and to Charlotte. Welcome back another NBA season. Billy, you've been a bit critical of the general nepotism involved with LeBron and Bronny. And last night they get their moment, and LeBron spent the whole time afterward being emotional publicly, and he gets the Hollywood ending. Even if they don't win a championship, he gets the Hollywood ending. I can't believe he's still playing like that at that age.
Crazy.
And that they're beating Minnesota, which was a good deal better than them last year. But they got their moment, so let's play this moment and see if Dad Weekend Billy gets moved by the syrup of any of this.
All ready? All right. You see the intensity, right? Just play carefree, though. Don't worry about mistakes. Just go out and play hard.
Wow, that's cute.
It is. Yeah.
Bronny works hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice. I have my regrets over how we discussed it headed into the draft. If I'm going to be honest with you,
why?
I don't know. I don't like how it came off. I don't like how it came out. I don't know. I like to feel. I like having warm, fuzzy moments, but I like them to be natural and not feel like they're kind of like fabricated and I'm being controlled by, corporations essentially. Nike, really, if we're going to name names. I don't want to feel like, every feel good is just like a big PR move by Nike to sell more Nike. And that's kind of how a lot of this has felt so far.
It's what LeBron in Hollywood is meant to birth as he transitions while still playing into father and whenever it's grandfather and starts making more and more content because he's doing what Peyton Manning is doing while he's still playing. It's almost the whole reason he went to Hollywood is to get the Hollywood ending. And he's gotten it by still – man, I'm going to remind you guys again that Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony are doing podcasts as his peers, reminding you how good they were. And that was a long time ago. Their colleague is still out here ushering in control of Hollywood by putting his son on the roster and getting people to argue about it. He's been a content machine for 20 years.
I thought Kenny Smith in the pregame did a very good job of talking about Bronny and the fact that had he not sustained that terrible injury, well, he had a heart injury, went to the hospital, And had he not sustained that,
he had cardiac arrest.
Yes, he was a top 5 recruit, maybe the best player in his class. That's what Kenny Smith was saying. He would have made it to the NBA eventually.
Okay.
But LeBron provided his kid and himself and his family with a special moment because he has the leverage to do so. And maybe it was manufactured. You want these things to happen naturally. I actually understand what Billy is saying, but it still was a special, nice moment.
It's literally manufactured from the people who bring you. LeBron runs the entire NBA and Hollywood for 20 years, is the biggest athlete in America, and at the end gets so many perks that he chooses the coach, and his kid is on the bench because he's going to get the ending that he wants.
But if you could choose that perk, why would you not choose that perk? Getting your son to the NBA, playing with your son, going into a game with your son, those are cool moments, man.
J.J. Redick was very clear on the front end that LeBron had nothing to do with his hiring.
And I'm sure Bronny, there's nothing to do with him being on the Lakers.
Well, no,
either.
he threatened to go play in Australia if he didn't play on Daddy's team. But other than that,
well, you can complain.
Here's the thing that feels manufactured about it, right? Like I like
it is manufactured.
No, I know.
All of it.
The reason that we know and it's not even being hidden is because like as soon as he gets drafted, there's commercial campaigns that come out. And like even the rookie hazing thing of like LeBron and Bronny, like there's a Nike commercial about it. Like it doesn't feel real, like none of it. Like that's why it's hard, I think, to enjoy the moment and be like, this is so special because it just feels so like over the top manufactured by Nike and by the NBA to like, you need to feel this way. This is so special. Feel this way. And it's like, I could just naturally feel this way by having actual, genuine, real moments and you guys not trying to force feed these natural, genuine moments.
Why can't both of these things, though, exist in your head at the same time? The relationship with his son is clearly and obviously real for all to see. Anyone living vicariously parenthood through, wow, that'd be cool to think about, or not, working or being able to work with my son or daughter.
Why wouldn't you manufacture that moment if you could manufacture that moment?
But you can. It can be manufactured and still cool. It does. You don't have.
I agree.
You don't have to choose between those two things.
I think it being manufactured makes it less cool. Like you don't. It's like what's real, what's not real. I don't know.
Okay, but we are not the greatest people to measure cool by degrees. But okay,
I can tell you how I feel. That's how I feel.
Of course, and I would say many people object to this for many different reasons, but
if they did less, it would feel cooler. I feel like it would feel more genuine. If there was actually like a moment where they checked in, not like a pre-planned. This is when we're going to do it.
You
Watch
do
the beginning of the second quarter. Let's check this. Let's check that. Like I think honestly, if you want to have a deep conversation, it's just like a human condition thing, right? Like it's just everybody wants to live in the time when the most important thing happened, and this is the greatest player I've ever seen do XYZ thing, and like every generation just wants to give their life meaning by saying they were alive when the greatest thing ever happened. So we just continue to manufacture these moments to make ourselves feel better.
You're saying manufactured, but you would not dispute that the relationship between them is genuine and authentic.
I don't know the
correct?
relationship, if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
All right, but what do you think?
I only see what Nike puts out.
Okay,
so I don't know.
So you don't.
I'm not questioning their relationship.
That's
I'm just
fair.
saying, like, everything doesn't have to be a commercial.
I guess I'm asking you, do you believe, and maybe I'm the sucker here, what's been presented to me about LeBron James as the most connected athlete to access in the social media age gives me the impression that he is a caring father.
I'm not saying he's not.
Okay,
Billy's saying we don't know.
We don't know.
Right.
This is correct. We don't know. But if you're applying the cynicism of because Nike manufactures commercials when they've been in the mythology business since long before Jordan, this is what they do. It's who they are. They're the best marketing people in the history of industry in creating what the mythologies are around these people. And they've got a giant economy who is their chief sneaker salesman at the moment, who has an amazing storyline to give the storybook writers. And he lives in Hollywood, and he's trying to figure out how to end the story on I owned 20 years of sports in America. I get it.
Wait, so Bronny knew the cereal was in the car? That's ridiculous.
A lot of cameras there for that.
But you want that to happen naturally. LeBron had to play until he's 40. Like, the chances of that happening naturally are zero.
I heard Nick Wright saying this, like, we might not have LeBron right now.
Correct.
If not for Bronny
Yes.
being in the league. He probably would have retired by now. So if you appreciate LeBron and are happy he's still in the league, you kind of just got to eat this.
I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's getting to experience and do all of this. But I'm being honest and telling you, it feels less genuine as a consumer than it could.
I understand. Windhorse is saying that the Lakers plan on keeping Bronny on the roster because a lot of people feel like he should go to the G League and go through what other players have had to go through to get to the NBA. But this is keeping LeBron motivated and activated, and he's into it, and he loves it, and he's showing his son the ropes. And therefore, Windhorse is saying that he thinks Bronny will stay on that roster for the season.
Stugotz, one of the things that I always have found interesting about how we cover sports, all of it's sales, man. And we're the world's greatest customers because how we care about all of this nonsense in a way that's totally unreasonable. And guess who's as good at sales as Michael Jordan was? The guy who's getting to play later with his kid because he's figuring out a different ending past the time that he can actually win championships while still making the Lakers matter. And on opening night, they give you Celtics and Lakers, and right up on the screen is titles Celtics 18, Lakers 17. Our late game is LeBron James with Bronny, one of only 2 for the night as we kick off the season because he still matters like that at the end when he's the oldest player in the league because he's going to give up this league reluctantly, even though they took it from him last year, and all he's going to get at the end is the Hollywood, which is all he wants at the end.
I understand, but like also as someone with 2 children, I do like, I don't know, I sometimes think maybe I shouldn't include my children in XYZ thing. And obviously what he's doing for his son is great. Like his son is in the NBA, right? You can debate whether he got in based on his own merit, whether he got in with the help of his dad, whatever. He's done a great job of raising his son, getting him to the NBA, getting him the right coaches, doing the right thing to get him prepared and get him into this point. Now, he's going to have to prove himself, obviously, because he's not just going to stay in the league forever, even after LeBron is gone, if he doesn't deserve to be in the league. And you know what? Maybe he's equipped to do that. Maybe he's not. He's going to have to prove it himself, which is fine. It's just like the whole marketing, the whole commercialization of your family.
I agree. It's been
feels
heavy-handed.
a little much sometimes.
And all of you are in agreement on that one. It's how Nike selling you family is going to feel when you have
but as
this
the most
much
powerful
information
person, you
going
can
in.
control Nike and tell them, like,
It's way too weak on that commercial.
Yeah, let's let Bronny come in and kind of find his own. Like, we don't need to, because this puts added pressure on him. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, what? LeBron, a narcissist who would think of himself very often because of what his life has been the last 20 years, that he's the most... Man,
well, that's why I'm saying be a father here.
I've told you guys, this is pretty interesting, I thought anyways. I've told you that I've been recently reading Will Smith's autobiography, which I have found interesting for a number of different reasons. And Jada Pinkett, he broke her heart in therapy because they were both meant to write lists about who they cared about, who was the most important person. And, her list put the kids first. His list put him at the very top. And that's how you become the biggest movie star in the world, because you're chasing you with such zeal that in therapy with your wife, you're saying, I'm the most important thing. What do you imagine LeBron's life has been like for the last 20 years that would make it difficult to be a father who's concentrating only on the interests of his kids?
I know it's therapy and you're supposed to tell the truth and it's a cleansing and you're trying to
Why
heal,
are you
but
putting yourself first on that?
You have to lie in that spot.
Lie.
You have to lie in that spot. You have to.
Especially if you're going to put it in your book.
I don't care if the answer is Will Smith. Not there. It's not Will Smith on that sheet of paper.
I literally stopped reading that book because of how inauthentic I found it. And I made it through McConaughey's, who said he once peed 10 feet in the air over a 6-foot guy.
I believe it.
Yeah. Tier 4 actor, according to Samson.
Did he say tier 4? Is
He
that
did,
where he put
yeah.
him? I
Tier
don't.
4.
But I think that I don't know what 3 and 4 were, but I think he was making him a tier 2 actor. That's what it felt like he was making him.
No.
He had De Niro tier 2. I mean, it's crazy.
So according to his book, he was standing 10 feet away from a 6-foot dude who made a bet with McConaughey's dad that my son can pee over your head, and if he does, he gets your motorcycle. And according to the book, little Matthew McConaughey peed over that guy's head, standing 10 feet away.
Not so little. I mean,
You like that one, did you, Stugotz?
I was just making it in case.
You felt good about that one?
I needed to clear it up in case anyone didn't understand what Mike was saying.
Careful, I believe he was a teenager at the time.
The other
That's
game,
a practice, by the way.
Wow.
I try to provide that context
Mm-hmm.
by calling him Little Matthew McConaughey.
Little Matty.
That's why he's not good at subtlety. The other game last night, the game that we're not talking about, the Celtics made the winning of the championship look very easy last year because it was very easy because they were the best team from the start of the season to the finish of the season, and the only reason there was doubt about them winning the championship is because we had to talk about it for weeks and months, not because there was actually any doubt. They were an enormous favorite. They have unlocked the ability to play what is today's basketball, shooting threes in a way that the Knicks thought, Stugotz, before this season, because their fan base is as excited as it's been in 20 years, they thought that they were pieces away if they just send out the gritty guys, get rid of Hartenstein, put Josh Hart on the bench more. He can't be playing 42 minutes every night. Get the Italian, the foreigner, get him out of here to Minnesota.
He's from Delaware.
And make it Karl Anthony Towns and Bridges, and let's go for it right now. We think we're as good as the Celtics.
I agree with the moves the Knicks made in the offseason because that team, Dante and those guys, that team went as far as it was going to go last year.
A lot of New York does not like that.
I don't care what New York likes or dislikes. It's one game, for crying out loud. They were playing the Celtics, who were raising a banner at home, and the Celtics are really, really good. The Knicks needed to make these moves. They needed to improve the roster, and they did. We'll see how it plays out. But, of course, New York would fall in love with that team. That is a quintessential New York team right there. But that team wasn't winning a championship, and the people running the Knicks want to win a championship, and they gave their team, their organization, and that fan base the best opportunity to win a championship this year.
But if you're going to be worried as a Knicks fan, the place you're going to get worried is, the champions are attacking Karl Anthony Towns because he doesn't look anything like he looks when Gobert is out there with him, and they could be a number one defensive team because Gobert is out there with him.
But some of this stuff takes a minute, especially in the NBA. If you watched the Timberwolves last night, they look kind of disjointed as well because they're playing with new players.
Yes, of course it takes a minute, but the Celtics made a number of threes that is a record.
Yeah.
And after the game, Josh Hart is saying, we need to drug test them. I've never seen anything like that. In terms of starts, you can be totally patient about all those things. That one's a disaster for how New York went into this season thinking it's close to Boston.
Right.
And after the game, their gritty heart guy, literal heart guy, is saying to you, drug test them. I've never seen anything like that before. Tatum's numbers are wildly efficient in a way that he's not going to be. But the point stands on what Stugotz is saying. That team wasn't properly respected for how great it was last year because they ransacked everybody and started this season as if they put a bookmark in a bad Will Smith autobiography.
It's weird because the team was so good last year. People still want to question Tatum. He made the Olympic team. Steve Kerr didn't play him. Jaylen Brown won the finals MVP, didn't make the Olympic team, probably should have made the Olympic team. It's like no one wants this team or believes this team to be good. And it's weird to me considering how dominant they were last year. They were great.
Yeah, their best player when they entered the playoffs. I think the narrative's changed a little bit with how good Jaylen Brown was there, but they survived the postseason quite easily with having Jason Tatum statistically being one of the worst perimeter starters in the history of that sport in the NBA Finals. And didn't miss a beat. Didn't matter. So I think, it is kind of weird because Boston won an NBA title and it wasn't really obsessed over all offseason long. You almost have to remind yourself that they did. And I'm trying to figure out, is it the path that they had? Are sports fans smart enough to apply that context? Is it because the guy that had all the commercials, the Jordan guy and Jason Tatum, the guy that was crowned as next, didn't really deliver, therefore it's harder to sell a championship like that? It is a weird place because they were that good, but I do think they almost need a better foil.
I don't think it's a weird place. I would say it's a combination of better foil, and you got to give us memorable moments, man. Like, you have to. You have to give us. Now, Boston fans will have a number of moments that they hold on to from that postseason run. The rest of us will have none. We will have zero from the entire postseason run. Think about what.
So because they were so dominant, that takes away from what it is
I'm just telling you how you remember.
Okay.
You're telling me they're the most disrespected champion ever, and I'm saying why.
Yeah.
Why? Like, why would you run roughshod over everybody and nobody's giving you whatever you think the appropriate credit is?
Right.
I'm going to say it's because there weren't a lot of buzzer beaters. There wasn't. Hey, they came back from 3-0. There weren't even stories for us to latch onto. They came back from 3-0 against the Heat. Derek White did that at the buzzer. I'm guessing that Celtics fans really squeezed the emotion out of last night. They loved the number of different things that were happening around the court. And anyone who doesn't care about Boston was watching it and shrugging, why do you love this team so much? What is it that you're connecting to here? I don't understand it. I'm not in love with Tatum and Brown and Porzingis.
What was the most memorable thing from their postseason run? They had a series with the Pacers that was a lot closer than the end result because they had really dramatic comebacks, and Indiana blew a lot of games. Indiana was also injured at the time. So
they swept them, though, right?
Yeah, they swept them, but they had to, like, the game flows. If you see the win probability numbers in each of those games, Indiana could make an argument that we were just this away
in the
from
last
making
3
that a real
minutes
series.
of all those games. I think it was probably in every one of them except maybe the last one that Indiana would have won the game. I think.
There was an overtime game. There was one blowout in game 2, but there was an overtime game, and the other victories were 3-point victories for the Celtics. So
yeah, that's hard. We had to Google that, If they didn't, it's not a memorable run because we don't really have anything we can remember. And that's hard. That's typically not the case in that sport with postseason runs.
That's hard to do if you're the Celtics. I understand what you guys are saying, but the Celtics were so dominant, they didn't provide their fan base or the league with any sort of memorable run. They were that good.
Let's do it this way, Stugotz. I'll ask you this. As the Celtics last night are celebrating, hey, isn't it great that Pierce, Ray Allen, and Garnett are together again because they were one of the original big threes and one could argue underachieved by only winning one championship. And the one championship they won, though, if you want to talk about where fan bases emotionally connect with their players, had more Game 7s in it than any championship run we had seen. It took more games more playoff games for those Celtics teams to make a bunch of different moments that makes us remember that those three guys played together in a way I don't think we're going to feel about, even if they win multiple championships. Porzingis, Holiday, Tatum, and Brown. Like that is, look, I'm not trying to discredit what they did. It's almost like they were too good. But in listening to listening to the oral history and some of the stuff that Mike is doing that ties our show to LeBron, you made the point that the reason that Miami Heat team was so memorable is because it lost in the first year when everybody thought that was going to be easy and thought that they were ruining the sport by getting on the stage and pulsing at us how easy it was going to be before the season even started.
No, you're right. We thought it would be easier, and it wasn't, and that made it the winning made it even better when they actually got to the winning part of their 4 years. But this Celtic climb was like any other climb, was it not?
They
got close. They got knocked out.
Yeah, they failed a bunch.
Right.
You could argue that Tatum's most memorable postseason moment was a negative play, getting blocked at the rim by Bam. They had plenty. They had a climb that a lot of sports fans can identify with. I don't know. It's just weird. I think you can appreciate their domination and reign over the sport if they do another one. If they win another one and they're not an outlier like Toronto or maybe Dallas was. Yeah. If they win another one, then their dominance can become a story.
Validates,
I would almost rather have none.
Yeah.
How is this a theme that has been in all three of the shows this week? That you've got to win 2 or 0. That winning 1 is not the correct.
It hurts you talking it out with you guys.
A lot of people stumble into 1.
Makes all the sense.
Let me play for you some sound here of Bill Belichick from Monday night, because I'm telling you right now, Stugotz, I don't know if you guys saw, ESPN sends out its weekly releases on what the numbers are for things on Monday Night Football, and conspicuously absent from that list was any numbers on what ESPN Plus did, as a whole lot of people couldn't figure out on Monday night how to get Chargers and Cardinals at 9 p.m. Eastern. There were people, I don't know what the numbers are, but ESPN didn't tell us immediately what the numbers are either. But they have Bill Belichick around with the Mannings, and I'm telling you that I would have him on all the time because Bill Belichick doing this with the Mannings reveals a little more to me than I've ever gotten out of Bill Belichick as a public figure. He goes after Mayo, the coach of the Patriots now.
Who coached for him.
Who coached for him, and did he play for him as well? He played for him as well.
He played for him as well.
I don't know what other coach he'd be playing for in New England.
No, he played for him as well. They won a couple of Super Bowls. Everyone who played for Bill won a couple of Super Bowls. This is on the Pat McAfee Show. He destroys him.
Yes, this was on the McAfee Show. What we played yesterday was on Ed Reed, and it's in response to basically Mayo saying that the Patriot players are soft as they have the worst team in the league, the hardest to watch team. They're 1-6, and I can't imagine how that fan base is feeling about that football team.
You know, defensively, the Patriots led the league last year in rushing defense, yards per carry, number 1 in the league. And this year they're way down in the 20s somewhere. It's the same guys. I'm kind of hurt for those guys because to call them soft, they're not soft. They were the best team in the league last year against the run. And those guys went out there and did it, even though we couldn't score many points offensively. So, I don't know. I feel bad for the defensive players on that one because those guys, that's a tough group.
That's how you use Bill Belichick to be really good at this.
It's perfect.
That's a great clip.
Yes.
That's where you apply.
Yes.
The hard thing with taking any of his analysis in is trying to figure out where his biases are. He certainly spoke with bias on Woody Johnson, but that was appreciated. As long as you wear it on your sleeve, it's a good thing. And right there, him's rat-a-tat-tatting. We were the best against the run. That is how you generally decide who is tough, who is a finesse team. We were the best against the run last season. That's really good stuff there.
He was saying I was best against the run last season when I was coaching those
things. That team was terrible last year.
Yeah, but it's a great job by him because he's being pro-player and anti-coach. And if you're a player watching that and your team stinks and you want a new head coach, that's the guy you want. I mean, I'm serious.
I think he's also taking an opportunity to coach Jerod Mayo one more time.
You guys might have noticed in that clip, I'm jarred by it, even if it's just the most common of television graphics. 8-time Super Bowl champion. It punches me in the face when I see it as a graphic. 8-time Super Bowl champion. It's an unemployed.
People forget about the Giants defensive coordinator ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Atlanta didn't want him.
No.
No. Although he might no longer be doing this media thing come Sunday night, because that's a great. It does kind of feel like Mike McCarthy's job is on the line headed into Sunday night against the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes. You think if Dallas loses that game, McCarthy's gone the next day?
Gotta believe so.
And it would have to be Belichick, right?
It's certainly the first call that Jerry's going to make.
If it's not McCarthy, certainly that Dallas radio guy is going to be gone the very next name that Jerry Jones.
Someone's getting fired.
You have him still there, huh?
Someone's getting fired.
But it's amazing because Dallas can't really take a loss. San Francisco climbing back into the playoff chase will be made especially difficult if they lose that game. Usually when these two teams get together, it's because they're really good and everything, the uniforms, the rivalry, that's all great. But here, the draw is that they're both tire fires at the moment.
Is it as amazing as Belichick chasing his 20-plus girlfriend through corn mazes? Because I want...
what a sight this was. I think they named the corn maze after him.
Did they?
They visited a Belichick-themed corn maze,
yeah.
I believe.
If you look at it here, there's a picture of him. You see him in the hoodie.
So delighted.
That looks like a generated image.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
Stugotz wants to make Belichick a physical prop in these games where you just put him in a hermetically sealed cage on the sidelines. And
I'm in on this.
Yes.
Loser gets Belichick.
Oh, wow.
That wouldn't be this weekend because I don't think Kyle Shanahan is going to be fired by anybody except God Bless Football.
Well, he should be. I mean,
Billy and Stugotz, I believe they are leading what is not a very crowded national train on thinking Kyle Shanahan isn't very good at his job.
I'm not even certain Billy thinks that. I
don't know what I'm getting lumped into here.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that, Billy. He has no business. Like, if he loses this game to Dallas, he should be fired, and they should consider Bill Belichick. Dan, you are amazed. 8-time Super Bowl champion, 6 as a head coach, 2 times as a coordinator for the Giants. They should change the name. I was thinking about this, seriously, on the golf course on a gummy. I was thinking about this. They should change the name from the Lombardi Trophy to the Belichick Trophy. How about that? Seriously, right?
What hole were you on?
4.
And how many milligrams?
Valhalla, 40.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Good God.
Oh,
man.
good God is right. Yeah. I mean, how about that?
You're still alive.
That's a game you try to lose, right? If you get Belichick, if that's the prize, right, you try to lose that game.
You can have him right now and win the game, and to not go through with the
good point.
not go through with the stuff about losing the game.
That's an observation only Stugotz can make.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of his observations, guess what? We have a cool little contest going on with our partners over at DraftKings and Miller Lite. Go to DraftKings.com and you can make guesses on what Stugotz will do and say and what others will say during weekend observations.
Wow.
And Miller Lite will treat the winner, the person that has the most accurate guesses, to a trip down here in Miami. They get to observe the show, get all the sights and smells, and even get to go to O'Flanagan's with us for a Thursday night football
Get
watch
out of
party.
here.
Yes, so make sure you guys enter because the pool closes Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. for the observation segment on October 29th.
Since we're promoting things, Mike, just give people all of the information that they...
I don't know if Stugotz will be in on that day.
I just asked Mike if I am in on that day. I have no idea.
He was just
Kind of
learning
needs
about
to
it
be
now,
in on that
and
day. That's when the field bets.
I just learned that I have a watch party I've got to put in the calendar at Flanagan's because you're informing me of this for the first time. But because these are valuable things, when we were doing things like this at ESPN, people were paying $30,000 and $35,000 that went to the Jimmy V Foundation. Tell the people again, because Miller Lite has been a very good sponsor here, all of the information that they need to have about winning something that people would like that includes a bit of a gambling element on the show and weekend observations. Why is Billy making faces as if his face hurts?
I'm just learning things. It's fine. Not for air.
Okay.
You're learning. Well, can you tell me if Stugotz is going to be in that Tuesday?
I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
observations say I need him.
I set the schedule. I did. I mean, give me some credit.
I am looking at this for the first time. Mike, any more information on how people can sign up for this?
Yeah, go to DraftKings.com and look out for it. And on my social channels and Le Batard Show social channels, we'll put out more information.
It's really cool, Dan, because I was asked some questions about how to do this. And, so the people will be able to guess on a weekly basis who is back this week. You know?
Okay.
So if it started this week, the obvious choice would have been you. You're back. You were gone for 10 days, and I had you as being back, you know? So
but you should make these harder. You should you should be a little unpredictable here to see how interesting you can make the betting.
You never know who's going to be back.
Can you not get his brain going there? Because this can be a rigged competition if you are inherently evil. Or sinister, or looking for an angle.
Right.
And Stugotz is at least two of those three.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mike. So I was thinking, because, Dan, there are always multiple people who could be back. This week, it could have been Russell Wilson. It could have been the NBA. I went you. I went. I don't think a lot of people would have guessed that, to be honest.
But what Mike Ryan is saying, though, is that we might have a situation like the one in the NBA where Porter gets gonged for betting his own prop bet. What Mike is saying is that Stugotz can make this so obscure that he's winning the watch party, so he just doesn't have to come to it.
I would say if I were to handicap it, right now the odds-on favorite to win this is Taylor.
Yeah, that's probably
Which,
about right.
at that point, the contest is over because I don't want to hang out with Taylor at a Flanagan's.
Right, but Dan's got me thinking, can I bet on this?
Since you were mentioning, though, things that we're promoting, we have another documentary coming out now on Netflix today, The Comeback. It's getting very good reviews, the 2004 Boston Red Sox. So that's on Netflix tonight if you'd like to enjoy. It's a 3-part docuseries if you'd like to enjoy reliving Boston's best sports moment, which I just view as one of New York's worst. That's the reason we made the documentary as a company. Let's celebrate one of the worst moments in New York sports history. Since we're doing 20 years of nostalgia around here, let's go behind the bit here. It's something that we're doing every week around here and every other week around here. Mike Ryan is working hard on an oral history that releases on Fridays. But this bit right here is the lie detector bit. Big Joe Harper made his first appearance on the show. We decided, it'll be self-explanatory, but to finally pin, this was a surprise to Stugotz, as I recall. We're going to pin him down on some of his lies.
This is behind the bit. This is behind the bit. This is behind
the bit.
We take you back to a better time in the show's history, a time, at least for me, where I was happiest because we were at ESPN.
Joe Harper is here. He's got a bullet in his neck. Stugotz is strapped up to. He's got things around his chest. He's got a blood pressure machine around his arm. He's got sensors on his fingers. Joe, give us an update on what it is, all this stuff that is on Stugotz. What's it measuring?
Attachments on the chest. Those are to measure respiration.
Okay.
While you're breathing, and when someone lies, all the smooth muscles around the lungs and the heart contract.
Big Joe Harper. What has he ever done?
Stugotz thought he could outsmart the lie detector. Not Joe Harper, the machine, and his lies ended up getting worse. Why were you bald? Had you been Paul Feinbaum like the day before?
I had lost some sort of bet that you got me kind of entangled in that had nothing to do with me. It was like a bet with like you and Golick, I think. Oh no, that was Golick when he massaged my ass. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, it didn't have anything to do with
It was another bet. I was bald. I think it was the Feinbaum. I look better bald. I look younger. I sound better. I look healthier.
You look so much healthier
God,
there.
I mean, that guy is hot.
Yes, no less repugnant, but healthier.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
What was the worst lie detector test result that Joe Harper ever saw, and was Stu's worse?
Well, first off, for the record, okay, that lie detector machine is faulty. I will tell you that right now. Because I did drink that shot in college, and I did not fart that day in the studio. It was him.
Okay,
All right.
there we go. And so there we go. So years after the lie detector, you didn't answer her question at all. She asked, what do you remember from the lies that... He doesn't remember his lies. His lies.
The one that hurts the most is Joe Harper recently asked me if I was okay with Pablo Torre being hired by Meadowlark Media.
Stugotz, are you happy Pablo works here?
Excellent question.
Holy
Yes,
shit.
no.
Holy shit. What a grenade you threw into the room.
It's a good one, though. No.
Well, he kind of... Yeah, that's
He's truthful on that.
Wow.
Totally truthful.
I didn't realize it until I was asked. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it. Now that I'm thinking about it, no. I mean...
This is...
We got chairs around here. I don't know when to come in, when not to come in.
And I am okay with Pablo being... Well, I'm not, but...
He's not.
Yeah, you know what?
He's
Forget
not.
it. Forget it.
He's
It was...
not.
I'm
He
lying.
did-
I'm about to lie when we're talking about the lie detector test.
He
I
did
mean,
not like that Joe Harper cornered him on not liking that Pablo Torre was
he
hired.
put me in a bad spot. I mean...
Dad, what's the best lie Stu ever told you?
Oh, so many.
I mean, the best lie? Good God. It's a library. It's a labyrinth. Help me out here.
Is there a best lie?
I mean,
probably the one he doesn't know about.
The one that Mike Ryan is perpetually saying that the most honest relationship he has is Stugotz because he knows he's always lying. To ask me which is the best of his lies asks me to recall everything he's ever said. The better question is, has there been in that mountain of bullshit ever a truth told?
I didn't fart in the studio.
A better question.
I did not fart.
It was silent but deadly. You didn't realize it.
Oh, look at that. Joe Harper says that it was
God.
silent but deadly.
I did not fart.
Lie? Lie?
Lie.
Whoa, come on, Stugotz. Stop farting in the studio.
Big lie.
You seemed more surprised when he told the truth. Is that?
I'm usually expecting that most of what he says, you have to understand this about Stugotz. It is an absolute truth, one of the few about Stugotz, that he's not feeling truly alive unless he's pulling off some sort of scam.
He knows me. Yeah.
Some sort of... he's less alive. It's a duller state of existence to not be trying to get over on somebody.
If I could explain myself for a second, I lie because I don't like to be left out of things, okay? So if people are talking about a movie, I want to be involved in that conversation, and I could fake my way through any single movie. So I just tell people I've seen the movie, because who wants to be left out of conversations?
That's the reason he lies. Not for great gain, not general greed, not to have more things come his way.
I just want to be involved in conversations.
Just to talk about movies with you.
Stu, was it really stressful being hooked up to that lie detector?
No.
He seemed pretty confident. I got to be honest. This made me learn something about just general dishonest criminal behavior. No, he's totally comfortable sitting in the weight of that.
So comfortable, I am fighting with Joe Harper and the lie detector because they're lying.
Still thinks they're wrong.
Would you ask me that again with my hand on the table, Joe? Because my full hand is on the table. And you told me it was important before we started to have all fingers on the table, and now they are.
Dan, do you ever lie, and would you pass the lie detector test?
I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm an absolute truth teller, but I think in our general environment, I'm less likely to lie than the average person. Is that fair? Less likely?
I mean, I don't think you've ever told me that.
I mean, I try not to.
I feel like you've never told me.
One of our many weirdnesses that we have in this lovable relationship that has a lot of conflict in it is that we are very different in a couple of different places, and this is one of them.
Telling the truth?
Yes, I try to tell the truth. Yes, and he does not.
Well, I try.
No, he doesn't. That's the thing. He has resigned himself to the failure. He's ceased trying.
Stu, who's the second best liar in the container after you?
Oh, that's a great question. Mike Ryan.
Really?
I didn't have to think long about that.
Really?
That's not such a great question. I just think, listen, everyone lies, okay? Even Dan, even that lie detector, even Joe Harper. Everyone tells, little fib every now and again. I would say Chris Cody falls more into my category where they're kind of benign lies. They're just lies because he wants to be involved in the conversation. Mike has more serious issues to deal with. He's corporate now.
Wow.
And I feel like corporate doesn't always tell the truth, you know?
Wow. So you've got Mike lying about more meaningful things than the things you lie about. You just lie to fit in about movies.
I lie about Bull Durham.
Mike's telling giant corporate lies.
Yeah, well, he's giant corporate executive.
Wow.
And what do executives do? Lie.
Shocking accusation.
I was one. I lied. I miss ESPN. I miss it so much. I don't think I miss it at all, to be honest.
I don't know.
They caught him off mic. It's like that Robert Durst character in The Jinx who gives away, spoiler alert, the entire movie at the end by forgetting he's got his audio still on.
I was really torn on who to choose there. It's not Roy. Roy doesn't lie. It's, Billy doesn't lie to me. I had to go Mike. I didn't know where else to go. I had to choose somebody. And so I went with Mike. And
I would have gone Jeremy.
I'm certain. Well, it's the 20th anniversary. I was trying to do core crew here. I had to make a choice. My choice was Mike. I'm certain he's not happy about it. So I'm sorry, Mike.
It's Chris.
And you're not sorry.
It's Chris. And it's like not painful lies. It's like, hey, Chris, did you get that thing that I sent you? Yeah. And he doesn't know what I'm talking about, but he'll just nod his head. Yes. Hey, did you edit that thing? Definitely. Mm-hmm. And then you have to follow up a couple of times. So little white lies.
Taught him well.
Lies to fit in?
Wise.
Just trying to fit with the crew?
It's lies not just to fit in, but to get the questions to go away. I mean, that's...
Yeah, he tries to hold you at bay, but he's got to tell. Like, his face kind of changes, and he just does kind of his brows get yeah, I did that. And he knows for a fact he didn't do that.
You walk away saying there's no way he did it?
I know. I would rather him tell me, if he said, no, I didn't do that, I'd be like, oh, there's a chance.
I would like to talk some NFL transactions with you guys because I've told you that the Chiefs, statistically, if you didn't know any better, would have a quarterback problem. As the undefeated team in the league, they've got a quarterback who statistically is in the mid-20s and is losing the football, on just throwing the ball downfield. Their offense is terrible. So they trade for DeAndre Hopkins because they don't want to pay part of Cooper Kupp's salary or the cost of going with higher draft picks. I don't know. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, it seemed to me a couple of years ago, was having a hard time finding anyone who wanted to still take him in the league.
He had a good year last year. He had over 1,000 yards. He had 75 catches. He had 7 or 8 touchdowns. And that was on the Titans.
I agree.
I was surprised to hear those numbers.
I was not, because they were a very bad offense that needed to target somebody. And somehow, after nobody wanting him in the offseason, he was the most targeted guy. And he was getting open enough because he never drops the ball. But I don't think that solves much of anything in Kansas City. And more interesting to me was the idea of Cooper Kupp being available as Diana Rossini reported pretty casually that the Chiefs had an interest there as well yesterday. She broke that news, and I don't know what state of health Cooper Kupp is, but there is one Cooper Kupp season that I look at that looks like about as good a season as a wide receiver has ever had.
Like the Brady Anderson season.
And so what is Cooper Kupp worth in a market where Devontae Adams goes for a second-round pick?
You guys think he had like a season like that was an outlier? I think you can make a pretty solid argument he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, well, he had 3 seasons where they were amazing seasons that helped make McBay who he is, but there's one season above all else where they're throwing no-look passes to him and he's a champion in the Super Bowl, and they've got no other healthy receivers, and everyone knows the ball's coming to him, and you can't double cover him, you can't do anything.
You're talking about the season he had 145 catches. He's never had more than 100 in any other season. That's the season you're talking about. He had 1,900 yards. He had 16 touchdowns. He was great. He was great. He is great.
The Super Bowl that they won was unbelievable on that final drive because everybody on the planet knew where those passes were going. It didn't matter. He would make the plays. He's pretty unstoppable when healthy, from precise route running to ball winning to just a complete game, being able to block in that system. He is just an unbelievable player. It's kind of heartbreaking to see how many injuries that he's run into. He's been pretty vocal in blaming artificial turf about his injuries. So at the very least, if he does get moved, I hope he goes to a natural grass stadium.
I don't know how you guys feel about football generally, half a season in, a whole lot of injuries. And when I saw Higbee, I told you guys this last season, being folded over as their tight end, working in tight spaces and seams and taking these monster hits. What that offense has done to the bodies of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp from afar, I'm like, oh my God, that usage rate is going to burn up whatever their prime is faster than the average human beings because their bodies are all going to start falling apart.
Sean McVay receivers have to play a physical style of football. And I don't know how much their downfield blocking has to do with some of their injuries, how active they are in some of the outside runs. Maybe that has something to do with it. A lot of people hold Puka Nacua's production against Cooper Kupp. But we have to remember, Cooper Kupp has gone out of that lineup several times, one time completely undoing their season. You have to remember, he also had plenty of great moments. We mentioned the Super Bowl. How about the NFC playoff game against Tom Brady, where Tom Brady does not have a good team that should be hanging with them, and he starts making all the plays. And then we all know where the ball is going. Matthew Stafford, downfield, Cooper Kupp ends that story for Tom Brady. I have all the respect in the world for Cooper Kupp, and I really am bummed that he's run into so many injuries, and I hope he has an opportunity to show that he is not a product of that system, that he can go to another team, preferably a team with a really good system, because, man, Kansas City would have been awesome if you're a Cooper Kupp fan.
Are you guys surprised that the Rams were unwilling to pay that salary? The Rams are in a tricky spot because they still have a chance. They do. That division is lousy, and they still have a chance.
Oh, but it's not a real chance.
Yeah, but they get Puka back, and, now they're talking about trading Stafford. I mean,
they're in a weird spot, especially with their head coach. But Diana said that the Rams were willing to take on some of Kupp's salary. The Chiefs were difficult to deal with in that they don't really have a lot of flexibility on the roster because of their all-world quarterback and the contracts that they dished out there. I would have loved him to go to Kansas City. It's a shame they couldn't make it work. I'm skeptical, but I kind of feel like they have the quarterback that can make anybody good.
I'm being made crazy, though, by Stugotz's ability, not incorrect, to say everybody but the Panthers have a chance. Everybody but the Panthers and the Patriots have a chance because it's just bodies stacked up all over each other at everywhere between 2-5 and 4-3.
But the Niners in that division are not as dominant as everyone thought they were going to be. So they're sitting at 3-4, and the Seahawks are 4-3.
Stugotz, just for a second.
Okay.
The Rams have a chance of winning the Super Bowl this year? Yeah, just yes or no question.
No.
Okay.
But Sean McVay doesn't think that way.
There is more than just winning the Super Bowl. If you make it to a conference championship game, that's a good season for everyone.
I'm simply saying that whatever it is that you view as the playoff standard is also something that I will very easily use against Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins when they get to the playoffs and then immediately lose by 20 points and the season wasn't much better than not even getting to the playoffs.
I took a Rams preseason NFC ticket.
Little flyer?
Because I thought if they hung around, Aaron Donald might realize, all right, I'll come back for one final run here somehow. But if you would recall, Sunday Night Football Week 1, Rams at Lions. Lions, I think everybody would concede one of the favorites inside that conference. Rams went toe-to-toe with them. That was when they were at their healthiest. They had Puka and Cup for that game. Stafford made one bad mistake in that game. Lions ended up winning, but it kind of played out like I think the Rams, because of their coaching, because of the talent they still have on their roster, can hang, and they've just been totally undone by injuries.
They beat San Francisco when San Francisco was healthy. I mean,
don't you guys do though? Just when Mike Ryan says totally undone by injuries, like isn't that everybody every season? Are you guys not noticing already that
the Chiefs,
that Patrick Mahomes moves a lot slower than he did 3 years ago? Not that he's ever seemed terribly fast, but are you not noticing that whatever happened to his toe there, Patrick Mahomes can't move? He's not that old. He cannot move already the way that he used to move.
It's not him. The game has slowed down for him. He's mastered it. I mean, you see that run last week? It was incredible. I mean,
he's bailing them out.
Matrix.
He bailed them out with that athleticism. I'm most curious to see how any quarterback ages in the NFL because of the impossible standard that Brady had. Mahomes is always going to be compared to Brady, but is Mahomes going to do the things to his body that Brady put it through? Brady wasn't this physical specimen, but pliability and nutrition, he really cared. Mahomes isn't a body guy. Mahomes is like, let me chug this beer and throw it downfield 80 yards and try to stop me if I roll out of the pocket. How is that going to look like when you get to your mid-30s?
Billy, I was surprised earlier in the show that when Mike Ryan went hard on the idea that get Tampa some weapons so that Baker Mayfield's season can be salvaged in Tampa with his receivers all hurt because everybody is injured. I thought for sure you were going to take that window to ransack Baker Mayfield.
Why? I mean, he's been good this year. He's lost all his weapons. Like he didn't. I mean, Monday he didn't look good. Like, don't let the stats fool you. He looked pretty bad for the first half. He was making bad passes. He was overthrowing people. He was throwing interceptions. Like, he didn't look like the MVP candidate that we thought he looked like earlier in the season. At the end, the numbers were there because it was, garbage time yards. They got an onside kick, and he was just chucking it away. But, like, he was making bad decisions early on. But, like, I think they're in trouble. Like, depending on how serious the injuries are, the Bucs are in trouble.
I would have argued that was one of the good teams in the league 2 games ago, but you take away two of their
top receivers.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. You take away their 2 receivers, and all of a sudden, all of that is going to get constipated in a league where every Sunday I tune in, and there's somebody out there being C.J. Stroud, 10 for 21, 84 yards.
Yeah, Baker's got some Favre to him. He made a terrible interception in the end zone that you just cannot make. But what I will say is, he made that interception after Mike Evans simply dropped a touchdown pass, in which also was especially devastating to not just their chances of winning that game, but to their season, because Evans re-aggravates a hamstring injury and goes out. But there was a 14-point swing on one pass that hit Mike Evans on the hands.
They were up 10-7. They could have been up 17-7.
The good thing and bad thing about Baker, and this is going to sound worse than I intended to, is like he doesn't learn. Like he has a short memory, and like he'll make mistakes, and that's not going to scare him away from trying to make the same plays again, which is what's good about him, right?
So he's Favre.
No, he'll make the play.
Gunslinger.
And by the way, the Godwin injury is worse than the Mike Edwards.
1,000%.
Not just in
his
terms
ankle
of
was sideways.
No, not in terms of severity, but in terms of value to the Bucs. Like that's their number one.
No, he does so many things for them. Godwin's a brilliant player. That stinks. The only way to replace him is Cooper Kupp, which is why he needs to go to Tampa.
Sideways ankle.
I don't love what's happening right now with me and Sarah Spain, that I'm doing sort of a mental association where I'm generally happy to see her. But now when she's here, I know that she brings that bucket with her.
She brings pain.
I see her and I'm like, oh no, this damn thing again. So we'll get to it in a second. I will remind the people, Good Game with Sarah Spain is the name of the podcast. It's a one-stop shop for the biggest stories in women's sports. What are you burning on right now? I thought you did both some good journalism and some important stuff with Christine Brennan the other day, a real pioneer in our industry, both of you really. But Christine, it sounded outdated to me in ways that bummed me out because things have just sort of modernized. and she's become somebody who's done it her way and done it very well for a long time, and wasn't hearing the ways that she has aged out on some stuff that has changed just societally that you've been covering very well over the last 15 years. And welcome, by the way, commish.
Thank you. Thank you. I do recognize the look in your eye. It's like my husband when he sees me coming. It's like, oh, I should feel different things, but pain is on the horizon. I actually was bummed out by Christine too. I've had her on my shows on ESPN for years, and she is usually so righteous in her fights against things like the NFL's handling of domestic violence or sexual assault or things like that. And I think, unfortunately, when you have too many decades of being on the righteous side of things, you might start to hear all criticism as coming from the same place, where I'm just going to push through and do the work and ask the hard questions. And in this case, it wasn't necessarily about the question so much as about the context in which she was asking them and needing to really understand the space of the W to do the work well. And that's why it's so important to have shows and folks that are covering it all the time and are really deeply invested in it, because it is a different space. And it is dangerous actually for players to come in and parachute in without having done the work to understand how what you're covering and how you're talking about things might affect them.
For the record, Christine Brennan, a very accomplished journalist, is writing a book on Caitlin Clark, and the division and the controversy, and the thing that you learned from all of this was what, as she walked into a locker room, and the black women didn't like her line of questioning, and with good reason.
Yeah, I mean, I essentially think it's the same thing that's plagued the W for years, but writ large because of the arrival of Caitlin Clark. There's a lot of misogyny, misogynoir. There's a lot of homophobia. There's a lot of sponsorships that have always gone to these like aesthetically palatable white girls, as opposed to the masculine leaning players or the women of color or the women who are out lesbians. And there's been a sort of safety in the space that's grown over the years of the league really being so pulled together that they pushed back on that and created something very special. And when Caitlin Clark arrived, it was like, awesome, more eyeballs, more people, more attendance, all the great things. But people were using Caitlin Clark as an avatar to further social issues that she wasn't even speaking on. They were assigning her the space of white savior, and then they were aligning all of the black players, particularly physical players, as sort of like taking it out on her, being jealous, creating cat fights. And they created a division that has resulted in actual death threats for players, that has resulted in black players in the league feeling unsafe, which is such a bummer, because it's like everyone forgot everything they knew about sports in order to talk about the W this year. There were actual former NBA players saying that the current players should take it easy on Caitlin Clark and let her be successful at the beginning because it would be good for the league. It's like, in what universe has that ever been how sports are played? Or they would hear Diana Taurasi saying like, oh, she's going to have a wake-up call when she gets to the pros, and say that was her mistreating Caitlin Clark. As if we haven't heard every single veteran ever say, you know, a rookie's gonna get what's coming to him. It was so strange. It was like, genuinely, if it weren't so infuriating, it would be funny how people just forgot that this was sports.
It's a weirdly infantilizing thing
Yes,
that I don't totally
yes.
understand. But I've always found you to be super astute on the heavier societal stuff. So I will ask you, just as we head into these next 3 weeks here that are going to be pretty awful, you have anything for me on helping me understand what is happening in this country with men against women, or just the division that that makes it so that there's some real woman hating going on and still makes this election somehow plausibly close?
The best thing I read during the last first Trump run for president was about the idea that when there's major progressive and social issues that move forward, there is an inevitable backlash. 2 steps forward, 1 step backlash is what they described it as. And it's happened over the course of history in major ways, in a result to civil rights activism, in a result to women gaining the vote, all these different things. And I think when you are in power and have always been in power, as men have in a patriarchy, you fear women getting any sort of agency or voice as something that will require you to change your behaviors and or give up some of your power. And so the response to women going to college more, making more money, handling more of the household income, all of these different things, and wanting more for themselves, sometimes by not choosing to marry men or signing up for partnerships that aren't equal, has made a lot of men afraid of what the future might look like for them, especially in terms of the way their behaviors might have to change. There's this constant storyline about the male epidemic of loneliness, but all of the numbers and research actually point to a pretty equal idea of loneliness between men and women, sometimes women even more, but men complain about it more because they are not used to not being taken care of. And they are not used to having to address the way that they behave with women as something that we will react to and care about, right? It's always, when we couldn't get our own credit cards or pay our own bills or get our own jobs, we were sort of reliant on men. And as that continues to progress in the other direction, there's a shift in power. And I think there's an inevitable response to that, which is we hate women as opposed to, hey, cool, let's see what this looks like when we're all just human beings operating together.
I love Sarah as a woman and a human being, not as the commissioner of the Bucket of Death, however. Go ahead and play the music.
Different person.
Yes, a totally different person. We begin with Mike Ryan. Mike Ryan is picking from the bucket. Do we have any controversies to present the commish and things? Only Billy has. I haven't seen a whole lot of people dressing up around here.
That's correct, commish. I don't know if you heard, but I paid off a punishment this week. No controversies, but an interesting note, no buys this week. 20 out of 21 years, there have been straight weeks with buys. Last year, week 8, there was no buy. This year, the NFL is following suit and keeping the no buys. Week 8, also no buys week 13 because it's Thanksgiving week.
All right, so Mike Ryan, what do you have there?
Carolina Panthers, that's going back in.
Yes, it is.
+9 at the Broncos.
Don't like that. All
That's
right.
a bad, that and the Patriots, the worst things in
Got
there.
the swap helmet, so let me pick another helmet to establish what I might be
I
swapping.
have the
with.
golden helmet of life. Are you allowed to take that from me?
No.
You got it last week.
I have the Bengals, so we'll
take them.
3-point
Hosting the Steelers.
favorite. No, the Bengals are a 3-point favorite at home against the Eagles.
Oh, it's week 13.
Yeah.
Why
are you on week 13, man?
I was confirming my week 13 stat of no
got
buys.
it.
I wouldn't be bummed out. I wouldn't be bummed out if I pulled the Bengals initially, but let's see how this plays out because I might swap.
Okay. Is it a special time for the Reaper? I wonder, are you extra busy right now heading into Halloween?
The Reaper's awfully small today, physically.
I know, very
small.
small.
Also huge.
Yes. And the
Billy-
commission knows the Reaper cannot respond.
Billy,
Right. I just was wondering if you noticed that he was booked and busy.
I have the Raiders who are hosting the Chiefs.
10-point dog at home.
Yeah, I'm going to put that one back.
Yeah.
Boy, we are pulling some garbage out of
I
there.
like
John
the points
Gruden,
in that one for
who's
me.
now a brunette, says he still follows the Raiders. I got the Eagles.
Oh, wow.
Eagles
Head-to-head.
at the Bengals, allegedly, if I've got the right schedule.
You have it
here.
right.
Yeah, week 8.
One of those two going down.
3-point underdog at the Bengals. The Bengals lost to the Patriots this year at home. I want you to think about that for a second. Roy, what do you got?
Fine bucket. No.
Ooh.
No.
Isn't that instant death? I think that's instant death.
It is instant death.
No, if he chooses.
I think it's instant death.
If he doesn't put it back.
Yeah, you can put it back.
I don't put it in the bank. Yeah, that's not happening.
That's smart.
Then
How
that's-
much money's in there?
That's not
I don't know.
instant death.
Oh God.
There's a few dollars right here.
What'd you get? What'd you
The
get? What'd you
Rams.
I got the Rams.
Hey, they're still alive. In
That, yeah, they are alive.
That's right.
never
According
know.
to Stugotz,
Potentially-
Yeah.
they're at home
potentially-
against the Vikings. They're 2.5-point
wow.
dog.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Could be
Wow.
Sam Darnold at quarterback. Who knows?
So basically, it was instant death.
Billy's going to look in the see how much Roy just passed up on.
It could be Stafford playing quarterback for the Vikings and Darnold playing for the Rams.
We don't know if that
Wow.
report is
Wow.
true or not. That was just
I
a
don't
rumor.
think
The Big Apple.
We talked about it for 10
you
minutes.
can get the Yankees, Chris.
No, I'll go. Actually, right here, I'll go Jets against the Patriots,
Couldn't you-
-7.
Couldn't you go Bills there if it's in New York?
Yep.
But yeah,
They're
because
at
everyone
Seattle.
calls Buffalo the Big Apple.
Yeah, they're at
Jets are
Seattle.
-7. I'll take the Jets.
You could take Army.
Who's at Seattle? I've got Titans at Bills. Do I have the wrong? I've got Titans. I've got a list here that has the Titans playing the Lions and the Bills.
It's going to be tough for them.
The rare
Yeah.
twofer.
Huh.
Yeah.
They have a doubleheader, huh?
Back
That's
to
a
back.
tough-
Wow.
That's a tough Sunday.
Tough for the NFL.
Like how is this such a bad point spread sheet? How is this possible?
Rummaging.
Good old-fashioned typo, Dano.
Let's see what we
Who's
got here.
playing? Are the Titans playing the Lions minus 11, or are they playing the Bills minus 9.5?
The Bills are at Seattle, so I don't know.
Why is there a typo? Can't you just print out a sheet?
I'm now too confused to know who I
The
can potentially
Titans are
swap
playing.
for.
The
Should I
Titans
keep
are playing the
rummaging?
Lions.
I mean-
The Titans are playing the Lions.
At Detroit.
They're playing the Commanders week 13.
Someone play the John Kelly clip.
Oh my God, this is truly a mess. What has happened?
Play the fascism clip. Play the fascism clip.
Oh, look at that.
Golden helmet of life. Why is it in there? I thought it was.
Swapping it. I'm putting it back.
I thought it wasn't supposed to be in there.
Putting it back.
Well,
That's
he's gonna
the
take
strategy.
It. He's going to take it.
The
The golden helmet of life.
Stugotz, you can trust me.
Put it back.
I'm not a liar.
The fine bucket had $30 plus a $10 IOU from Jeremy.
Isn't that money going to Jessica?
No.
Not
Stop the
anymore.
confusion.
You
Thank
missed
you,
my
Commish.
ruling.
Thank
Enough
you.
of that.
Yeah.
Enough of that.
I wasn't here last week.
What
Sorry.
do we got here? Oh, God, I got the Carolina Panthers.
Oh no!
Golden helmet of life for the Panthers.
I can put it back, though, right?
No, you're done.
No, that's the golden helmet rule. You can put it back twice. You get an extra
No.
putback. No.
You're plus 9
That's
at Denver.
not true.
What?
You just screwed yourself. You could have had the Bengals, but you were so intent to screw over Mike Ryan that you put back the golden helmet of life, and you got what you deserve.
Who does Carolina play?
Does not matter.
They're at the Broncos.
They were
plus
also
9.
playing the Titans.
How about week 13?
I like having Sarah here to make instant rulings that make Stugotz stop slippery. He stops all his slithering when Sarah's here.
I'm going to keep the Bengals.
Good Game is the name of the podcast. Again, like I said, she's covering, it's a one-stop shop. Biggest stories in women's sports. Nice seeing you, sort of, Sarah. Thank you for being on with us.
Always nice seeing you guys.
This is just ridiculous.
What do you mean?
Just a mess. Just a mess. A total mess. The whole show. I asked for the fascism clip and they put Mad Dog on the screen. I asked for the fascism clip and they put that guy who was fighting for Otani's ball at the bottom of the stadium.
15 year. I don't want to say drought. That's not fair. But you.
Stugotz has had in the holster all show because this is the real Stugotz wheelhouse, okay? Fernando Valenzuela passed away, and he represented at a time a total novelty in sports that created a phenomenon called Fernando Mania that doesn't have a whole lot of precedent, where one young foreigner becomes this novelty thing in sports, and because of what Los Angeles represented to Mexican Americans, he became a wild symbol for didn't speak English, youth, Dodger, winning and excellence, and being an unusual left-handed pitcher.
Fernando Mania was his rookie year, really the first 8 or 9 starts. It was kind of like Linsanity when Jeremy Lin, and he was on the back page of the New York Post for 2 consecutive weeks or 2.5 consecutive weeks. Fernando Mania was a big deal. You had this pitcher. He was a rookie. He won, I think, his first 7 or 8 starts. He was dominant in those starts, but he went on to have a great career. He pitched for 17 years in the major league. So unlike Jeremy Lin, who kind of flamed out after a few years, this guy was great early and was really, really good for a really long time for the Dodgers. But Fernando Mania was must-watch television at the time, Dan. He had the weird delivery. His eyes went up in the air. He wasn't looking at the catcher. He was a novelty, but he was great.
He was all of those things. And so Stugotz combined that with seeing the Griffeys last night at LeBron and the Bronny game.
Hard not to see him. I mean, they were all over TV. That's all I'm saying. I wasn't making any jokes there. That's it. I mean, weave in a salad. That's all I'm saying, man.
Oh, man. Come on.
I mean, Roy, did you see him?
Yes, I saw him.
I'm concerned about the Griffeys. I love them. I mean,
this is your public concern for the cholesterol levels of the Griffeys. This is what you're doing here. Weave in a salad once in a while.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Let's just put it that way.
I don't think we're qualified to talk about.
I'm certainly not.
Others weaving in salads.
Yeah.
When you're the Griffeys, that's a family name, but this does allow. It's royalty in that sport.
Yeah.
The Griffeys. Aging is hard on people, except for LeBron, who in that photo is the oldest player in basketball. Aging is harder for all of the other people in that photo.
But standing next to his son makes him look old. It does. I've been waiting for a moment where LeBron looks old. It kind of does.
LeBron has been dad style for a while. Nobody gets to be cool for 10 years, 15 years. Everybody ages out of that. But because of seeing the Griffies last night, Stugotz has put together a top 5 list of best father-son combos in the history of all of sports. We're not going mothers and daughters. It's just going to be all fathers and sons.
Last night was a father and son moment for LeBron and Bronny and the Griffies, so I went father-son here.
So you're doing OLIs or just 5?
I have 3 OLIs, Dan.
Okay, let's do it.
The Alus.
That's a good family.
Thank you. Were you guys unaware of Moises' dad?
Yeah.
I was aware.
Felipe.
All right.
Felipe was the manager. They were the manager. His son, the son played for the manager for an Expos team that, if not for the strike, would have won the World Series.
To be honest, the way that it rolled off your tongue, maybe post Valhalla, made it seem like you were talking about French people.
The Alus.
And one of them, well, both of them, proud legacy in French parts of Canada.
Yes.
OLI.
The Bonds. And the Holes. Mike, don't make a face. Bobby and Brent Hull? Are you kidding? I mean,
I thought you said the Halls.
Oh, the Holes.
And I was trying to figure out, like...
Nah, the Holes.
Not Brent.
Yeah.
It did sound like the Halls that you said. And Bobby and Barry Bonds is a good list, so this must be a good top 5. What do we have here? Number 5.
Number 5, the Horfords.
That seems like a stretch.
Tito and Al.
That seems like a stretch.
What are you talking about? A UM Hall of Famer and an NBA Hall of Famer. I mean,
Billy, please look up for me. He's not an NBA Hall of Famer.
Yeah, okay. All right, let me come on.
Al will be.
Get out of here.
Al will be a Hall of Famer.
Thank you.
Can you look up for me, please, Billy, Tito Horford's NBA numbers? I just want to know, Tito Horford, Al's father, I want to know how many games were in his NBA career, how many points, because I saw last night, Stugotz, among the many things that came out, Draymond came after Kendrick Perkins because Kendrick Perkins is telling Kawhi Leonard to retire. And now Draymond is saying of Kendrick Perkins, you scored 2.5 points your last 3 years in the league. Nobody was telling you to retire. Everybody wasn't telling you to retire. And Kendrick Perkins is making a career, as is Stephen A. Smith, out of telling Kawhi to retire.
Yeah. Draymond is not averaging much more, by the way. I mean,
I don't believe Tito Horford is a UM Hall of Famer.
Oh, really?
Should be.
All right, 8.6 points a game.
I
Draymond.
wasn't counting on you looking that up. I mean,
let's check in with Tito Horford's career NBA stats according
Looks
to
like
Billy
63 games, 1.5 points per game,
my
0.1
list.
assists per game.
Great bench guy, though.
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
really.
Locker room guy.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Chemistry.
Nope.
Yep. Leader.
Nope. Number 4.
My list. Number 4, the Earnhardts. Dale and Dale Jr.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Number 3.
The Lorias.
What?
Jeffrey and David.
Chris, this is
Probably
a good
gonna
time
take
for a
offense.
stepson joke. Is Michael Schmidt still mad at us about
Michael Jack?
Arms are still folded.
Are we done yet?
Tito Horford had a brother that played in the Astros organization.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just learning Tito Horford was the nation's #1 recruit at center, and he had committed to Houston, which had a good basketball program. But something a little funny happened there, and then he tried to go to LSU, but he basically ended up at Miami. Where was he playing his games? At the Knight Center?
Yes.
Yeah.
With a curtain up?
And he was like the best recruit that they had since the Rick Barry era University of Miami basketball team. He was absolutely a star-studded recruit, a 7-footer, a genuine 7-footer, and they didn't win anything.
I don't see Tito in the UM Sports Hall of Fame just yet.
Right.
But it looks like it started in 2017, so there's time.
We should fight to get him in.
Should we?
Yeah, he's deserving. He is.
Number 2.
The Balls. LeVar and LaMelo Ball.
LeVar didn't play anywhere.
Doesn't matter, man. I mean,
What? But he wasn't a professional at anything. He wasn't.
Did you see him on First Take? I mean, guy, the sneakers.
Who's number 1 going to be?
The Codys.
Thank you, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the worst top 5 lists in the history of numbers. There it is.
You lose. The man did not say the hows. He didn't say the Kachucks. What is the matter with you?
OLIs,
I
you thought it'd
left
be a
out
great
Chucky.
list.
Yeah.
Are we done?